We live. It's all right for right now.
All right, welcome everybody. As you guys are starting to make your way in, this Truth Will Set You Free episode 16 has some special guests. We've got Jam, Nick, and Carolyn. They're going to be joining me, Aaron, Curtis, and Cash in just a couple minutes right here on the BeTheChange Network. We're going to be talking today about what happened in Kenosha, what's going on continuously in Kenosha, and which way you're voting. Are you voting for Biden and Kamala, or are you voting for Trump and Mr. Pence? So we'll get started in just a couple minutes. Start sharing this out. The man, the myth, the legend, Cashley Kelly is on his way. Fashionably late as usual, but we will be getting started. Again, share this out. The big thing about this episode is going to be how to have a conversation about something, and starting out a little bit serious, obviously regarding what is going on in Kenosha and across the country. So we'll get started again. Just go ahead and share this out right now, and go ahead and put in the comment box where you're joining from. Looking forward to having some guests in the house. We've got Ohio, as well as Boston, and the lovely Baltimore. So that's our host for the show, and we'll be starting again in just about 2 minutes. Thank you guys for your patience. Sorry we're starting just a few minutes late. Again, one more heads up as people come in. We got about 1 minute, just under 1 minute until we start the show. Go ahead and share this. Go ahead and put people's names in the box. You want to see this. We have a Democrat guest. We've got an undecided voter, and we have a conservative, a newly conservative on our panel today. We're going to be having a lot of continuing conversations regarding politics as we get closer to the election. A lot of people joining from all over the country. We got New Jersey, Louisiana, Savannah, Roanoke, Virginia, Florida, Michigan, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas. We got a law enforcement officer from Milwaukee. Hi, Samantha. Boiling point has been looking to spill over. Just needed a reason. All right, we're going to go ahead and get this started in just about 10 seconds. So get ready for the beginning of Truth Will Set You Free 16, a political conversation and debate from both ends of the political spectrum. I mean, am I right or am I right? That's some good stuff, is it not?
I don't know if you can see, but my nipples are hard. That was exciting. That was some good stuff.
I need new pants.
Those cost literally just $5 a piece. It's a cool thing. So Terrence Leffridge, shout out for giving me the heads up on those really bad A graphics right there.
Sorry.
All good. So let's get this show started. I want to really quick, obviously, welcome our other hosts to the show. The big thing that we like to do here on Be the Change is we have conversations. We have the uncomfortable conversations. Aaron had an idea in the beginning of June where we said, let's get together and let's do something that makes us feel uncomfortable and discuss what's going on in our country. It's this started, Truth Will Set You Free started talking about COVID. And then it obviously, so much more has happened in this weird year of 2020. So ultimately, it's all about finding a speaking point for growth and change from a positive perspective. So that's what it's all about. I'm going to introduce one of my other hosts, of course, Mr. Aaron Smalls.
Oh, yeah, this is exciting. We got new graphics going on here. That's very fun. I just got back to New York from Orlando. When you get off the plane here, they make you fill out the forms to figure out where you're going. And I just write it as if I'm a doctor, so they can't read anything. But I'm very excited to be back in New York. I'm excited for this episode today. I am the least political person ever, so I've got my bowl of popcorn right over here, ready to watch the excitement take place as the reds and blues and purples. There's purples, right? No?
Yes, that would be Nick Fanning because he's quasi undecided. So, all right, Curtis, what's cracking?
Yeah, I filled out
coming in hot. Coming in hot.
Wow.
What happened? No, now you're super soft. This is why, Curtis. This is why we can't have nice things.
Better.
It'll work.
It's the graphics.
No, it's not. No.
Oh, that's.
Yeah, you might be better off talking into your computer today.
Yeah.
There you go. There it is.
We go.
There it is. He found it. All right.
Yeah. So it's the graphics. I got too excited. I threw my headset down midway. So sorry.
All right. So what's going on?
Not too much. Just hanging out, working, staying safe, and trying to stay sane. And it was funny. We had a good conversation today with some friends talking about how much we thought we were good during the quarantine, but how much we actually miss socializing with friends and random people.
Yeah.
That was something that was surprising to me.
Absolutely. All right. So I'm going to really quick talk about what's going on in the world of Streetlights Unity Movement and Be the Change, kind of give some updates. For those of you that have been looking for new stuff on the website, boom goes the dynamite. We have a mug coming tomorrow, V-neck coming tomorrow for the ladies that have been asking. 2 new shirts, one with a Be the Change square, as well as the full phrase that Cash likes to say. That'll be on one, and a Streetlights Unity Movement wristband. Yes. So we've got some more cool stuff coming to the store. And for those of you that have been waiting 1 week from now, so not this next Tuesday, but Wednesday is the first Changemakers episode. Amy helped me with the logo. We ended up going slightly different with working with a bunch of different people. But here is the launch for Changemakers. Changemakers will be starting next Wednesday. If you're wondering what that circle is, it's a ripple effect of all change. And here is the official announcement of who is going to be our first guest on Changemakers, which I am incredibly excited about. Drum roll, please, Curtis. I know you know how to bang on the table. Yeah. Daryl Davis. Daryl Davis, shared by Kristen Commander, one of our fans in the very beginning. Daryl Davis is a huge deal to have on a show like this. He is the ultimate change maker, ultimate concept of ripple effect and actually getting in there and creating change over time. If you don't know who Daryl Davis is, please look him up. He is a gentleman that infiltrated his own way into the KKK by setting up an interview with the Grand Wizard or Grand whatever they're called. And over time, killed him with kindness, became his best friend, ended up getting him to denounce the KKK, and since then has pulled indirectly 200 people out of the KKK and realizing that is a huge hate. Yes, Aaron.
Because we are in COVID times, and as a person that is a performer and everything is shut down, if you get the opportunity, go watch the movie that I was in. And that way you guys can support a young African-American man. That's what you should do.
Wait, you're black?
Yeah.
You're American?
Something like that.
You're a man?
It's a man. He's a man.
Best of Enemies. You guys know what it is. Just go watch it. Just go download it. It is a very similar concept to what you're talking about with Daryl.
Got it. Perfect. I love it. Yeah, there's been a lot of great stories of people getting out of the KKK and realizing their wrong ways. And the ultimate thing, the reason I think he's perfect for what we do here at Be the Change is we're telling people not to yell at each other. And that's not what he does. You're not going to yell at somebody and tell them to stop being a racist, and they're all of a sudden going to stop being a racist. You have to show them, and it's unfortunate that that's what you have to do, but unfortunately, it's real life. You have to take the hate, and you have to take the racism, and you have to take everything that's been built up in prejudice over the years and break it down by showing that character always wins over skin color. And it just takes some time. So Gina is asking real quick, Aaron, what's the name of the movie?
I just dropped it in there. The Best of Enemies.
Best of Enemies. Excellent.
Really quick too.
Yeah.
The Gratitude Tour is doing another feeding of the hospital workers next Friday. So if you all want to get down with that, if you support your hospital workers, we're doing it in Miami. We are going to hopefully partner with Be the Change coming up to go to Dallas. That would be great. And then potentially a city near you. We are still raising money for, I forget her name, the awesome nurse that came on, Anthony.
Tyranny.
Tyranny, yes. And we're still raising money for her to also help feed her hospital where she is also. So if you all stick around, let us know. You can go to regularhero.org/donate and then just say, you can either be the change or the gratitude tour. And
Perfect.
it will go 100% to the doctors and nurses.
Awesome. Love it. All right. And we've got Cash. You made it, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, there we go.
What's up, fellas?
Man, that's a you got a new office every week.
Yeah, this green screen's amazing.
All right, Cash. So since we went a little off the rails last week, first off, thank you for making it. Since we went a little off the rails last week, we're going to try to keep all of our responses to stuff about 2 minutes, and we're going to let the guests kind of do their work. We are going to start talking, obviously, about Kenosha, and then we're going to move on to who we're voting for, and then we're going to try to wrap it from there. So I gave the update on some of the new stuff that's going to be on the website tomorrow about change makers and Daryl Davis being on next week. Aside from that, you got any update news before we get the show really started?
Never go to Guy's Garage in Lake Station on Ripley Avenue. It's been 3 months and my car's still not done, and this dude's giving me the runaround. I paid him up front, and I'm going to blast that place.
So wait
over social media.
Wait about an hour and a half before you do that. We're gonna have you focus on this, and then you blast the living snot out.
No, I'm just gonna wait until I get my car back. That'd be the smart.
That's probably a smart idea. I hope nobody's watching just yet. Now you can share the episode so that people can see that later. Perfectly. Love you, Cash. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I want to start with being a little bit serious on this one. Because what's going on, we talk a lot about our emotions, and we talk about how the core way we try to have a conversation is we meet emotion with empathy. And right now, I think a lot of us are going through emotions on both sides, which makes it really hard because providing facts right now and in any way, different way that you look at is going to be dangerous. But I have to speak my truth to get the show started and speak a little of what I believe is going on. And again, a lot of people are wondering where this was coming from, and I tried avoiding social media in terms of political posting. And next week, we're doing a whole week without political posts. God, I hope something like this does not happen next week. Speaking of that, before I do that, we're going to go ahead and say, here it is. Next week is nothing to argue, a week with no social media division, no one-sided political posts. It is a full blackout. But right now, this week, there's obviously some major stuff going on, and I feel the need to start our episode talking about it, and then we'll bring our guests in. So today's a weird one. Today's another moment where I need to take a minute with you all and have a quick sit down, or what I would call a fireside chat. Why fireside? Because in my opinion, the foundation of this country is burning itself down, and it's not even about politics anymore. It's about humanity. We've begun to normalize criminals. The benefit of the doubt has shifted from the officer to the oppressor. And yes, I'm saying criminals are oppressors. We make excuses for those committing crimes and go through the framework of systematic racism, poor education, and we give them the guise of no choice. No, this is incorrect. In that moment, the criminal always has a choice. In fact, this shouldn't have even happened because the criminal had skipped bail, and after his most recent crime, he would be spending time in jail or prison. To be honest, I talk about systematic racism and the issues surrounding it, but the fact that this man was already serving hard time actually goes against the grain in terms of our framework on systematic racism. According to what we believe, this man should have already been locked up and mistargeted for his skin color. Someone suggested this isn't being the change by me saying things like this or me being angry or frustrated. Things are getting worse. Why? Because we're not condemning those that not only break the law, but instead resist arrest and then threaten officers. We have people celebrating in the street, a police officer getting hit by a brick, people showing examples of how it takes far longer for a white person to shoot a perpetrator or not shoot at all, and people scream it's racism. To this, I remember each cop in each situation is different. Each time we have no idea. Some police officers are willing to pull the trigger. Sometimes it's daylight. Sometimes it's dark. Sometimes it's people that are reaching for something in a different way. We have to stop comparing situations and look at the actual moment. You can believe there is a need for systematic change in this country and support the police at the same time. Someone mentioned when I shared Cash's video last night to look at other countries and why we're a failure in the United States. And what I found that in other countries, it happens to some extent. But what I really noticed is when I looked really, really, really hard to find videos of people resisting arrest, it doesn't happen in other countries. So to me, I see that we're a country that has normalized resisting. Who knows why? But people resist the police, and they're celebrated when cops make a game time decision and sometimes make a mistake. Also, I found a video of a Muslim man completely complying in the United Kingdom for an arrest. Put his hands up and they beat the living crap out of him. The comments on this chain is what bothered me. They said, man, they must be learning from the United States, which is such a sad state of affairs, in my opinion, when our media has projected our image to other countries that a man throwing up his hands, getting beaten, is the way that we police. Do police get a little too rough sometimes? Yes, probably. But in the end, if this happened in the United States, it would be top news. Throwing your hands up in this country is already a rallying cry of something that didn't actually happen. Imagine if it actually did. Change will not happen overnight. That's not how this works. We can't just pull police from streets, demonize them, disarm them, and defund them and expect crime to stop. The systematic oppression won't just miraculously be lifted. No, it's going to continue until we take the time to stop it. And right now, we are not progressing. We're wasting time. It's been recognized. Things are starting to change. But until then, innocent people will be in danger. Innocent and community businesses will be in danger. Change takes time. People are mad that I shared Cash's video because I said I couldn't say it myself. So I'll say it right here. It's my honest truth. I look around and I see a problem. I see a growing problem. And the method that we're going about it isn't bringing things to the surface or bringing things out. It's creating more hate, more division. I'm going to tell you there aren't a lot of people that were starting to emerge from history and generational lineage of racism wanting to all of a sudden see cities burn, cops get hit in the head with bricks, and see people celebrate it. All in protection of a criminal, a sexual predator, and ultimately somebody not complying with basic orders saying, you know what, I'm done holding on to prejudice. I'm done holding on to racism. No, it's actually quite the opposite. It's creating more racism. We have made shaming criminals politically incorrect. It's politically incorrect to shame a criminal if they're a minority, and that's ridiculous. This is the universe. In this universe, we have cause and effect. The effect that we have seen in Minneapolis, Seattle, Portland, Chicago, and now this week in Kenosha, and many more cities across the United States. Somebody said on my post, and I'm almost done, I don't know how to build and come together, but I know this is not it. You guys got to do better. It's the opposite of being the change. What exactly was this supposed to facilitate as far as finding common ground to build on or moving the conversation forward? And my reply to this is, how can you be so sure it's not? Silence in some cases is the equivalence of complacence. Right now, complacency is no longer okay. I can tell you demonizing police isn't helping. It's getting worse. We're in a society where we're repeating the names of 3 people right now: George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor, while ignoring the 5 dead on a normal weekend in Chicago. Others may see this as a completely different subject or even gaslighting. But if being the change is reaching towards systematic overhaul, then it is part of the conversation. It has to be. We aren't looking at all aspects of a problem. We're looking at one book. We're looking at one book in a library and yelling at people that go to look at other books in the library. I just watched the press conference on Jacob's family lawyers, and it could not have been more of a disservice to this country or situation. Of course, it's the lawyer's job to paint a perfect picture of their client, but ignoring the surrounding facts of the incident and placing full blame on the police officer is an injustice to the laws that make this country the United States of America. The quote-unquote white lawyer, of course, decided to turn it even more into race and said, would this have happened to me? And to that I say, no, sir, because you would not have made the same mistakes and decisions leading up to the shooting in this instance. And then the other defense attorneys prayed that the riots and destruction that they called marching and advocacy would lead to the proper punishment and charge. Marching and advocacy, is that what anybody saw? The time for change is now, and in my honest opinion, the change that needs to happen is to put self-responsibility back on criminals, to end the celebration of those that resist. And that's how we start achieving progress. That's why I felt it was okay to share Cash's post. And that is my longest opening set I've had to do. And that is all I have to say about that. Sorry if I went off the rails a little bit. Cash is bored in the bottom. Curtis.
I'm bored. Got a lot on my mind.
A lot of people have heard Cash, you talk about this. Curtis, go ahead and go first. We're gonna have us talk as a group, and then we'll bring the guests on to touch on this, and then talk about voting.
Yeah, no. I will say one thing to the point with the person on, what'd you say with the London one? And they said you're learning from America.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will say this: America has a history of this, so it's not that this what we're politicizing and what the media is making overzealous right now on some of the things, that they're learning from that, or that people have gotten that idea just from this last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Because in one war, Hitler dropped pamphlets to black soldiers asking them why are they fighting for a country that's going to treat them like trash. Russia also did the same thing and talked to their own people, and actually had a black person who, and I'll get the name for you, but at the same time telling their own people about how Americans have treated black people. And the Vietnam War was also asking black soldiers why were they fighting, and the white soldiers in Vietnam, not all, but there was this inherent need to tell the Vietnamese women that if they slept with a black soldier, that they were trash because they slept with trash. Had a baby with trash. Now, this is not every single person, but I'm just saying from the history of America, after, again, I just, reread the book I was reading, Black Indians. America has been doing atrocious things our entire country history. But we're not the only country doing it. And it's funny to me to see that London, and people say, oh, London learning from America. We got this not from America. We got this from the people who came over to America to start America, right? So I'm an American. I love America. I'm glad to be here. I love living in America. I couldn't honestly say where else I would live, in my opinion. But at the same time, I need everybody to understand that this is nothing. The ideas of Americans right now, we might have some things change, but this has always kind of been out there through the history of this. But now, with that said, I don't know the full story in Kenosha, so I don't want to fully just jump in and judge it. I know I've heard what you've told me, a lot of facts, and I know I've been trying to read up on the internet, but I read 4 or 5 different views in 4 or 5 different articles. And so my biggest thing is, all I ask for in any shooting that a police involved shooting is, were the police in danger? Did the person attack the police to cause them to be in danger, to fear for their lives, to defend themselves? I don't want to just say kill them, because they have to defend themselves. And the last thing is, what was the person doing at that scene of the crime? And have the police had any citations, like we saw in the George Floyd case and some others, of police not getting reprimanded for having these other actions too? Because again, there's some things, if this one guy that's in Kenosha apparently would have been in jail, this would have been prevented. Right. And there's other things. So that's always my questions. I don't have enough on it yet, and I'm still looking at it. I've been traveling, I've been moving, and I don't want to react too fast, because if it comes out that he didn't have a gun and something else and this and that, okay, so I just really want to wait and see. And I see some comments on the side,
and there's a couple sides to the story. Absolutely. Again, this is another reason where I say that why is there a city being burned down? And I
don't agree with that. I don't agree with burning any city down. I believe in protesting. I believe in yelling. I believe in coming together. But at the same time, I believe in real action and getting your butt in gear and figuring out how you can make real change. Because we can't just keep yelling and screaming and marching, because that doesn't change policy. That doesn't change hearts. That doesn't change the future of things. It's just getting some frustration out and then you go home. Let's figure out how to get past this and go into it and really find ways to, make real change. And I always get like that. And some people don't like that opinion. And I'm just like, well, I believe in protesting, but also believe in real action. And I'll stop there, because I can, I'll go off the rails too.
No, I got you. And I think the last thing, because I want to talk with the whole crowd on this one, because I think all of us, we started having a great conversation and back. I wish we still had live PD. Canceling live PD was such a problem, because I think it showed how quick it allowed people to see how quick things happen in policing. And we forget that. And we're still talking about what happened in Lafayette, Louisiana a couple days ago with the guy that was yielding a knife going into an establishment. He got shot like 15 times. When multiple police officers are trying to stop a situation, again, we can't. I don't want to celebrate somebody that was looking to do harm to other people. Potentially, you're putting yourself at risk. Aaron, go ahead, and I'm going to bring Cash up after that. I got you.
I was just seeing some of the comments, so I was trying to keep my notes. There was a commercial that came out. I don't know if it was in the late 80s or early 90s that was about drugs, and the kid finds his dad's drugs or whatever. The dad comes in and he's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I learned it from watching you." And I bring that up and I say it almost like facetiously, is that you said in the opening, putting self-responsibility back on criminals. And that hit me because it sounds almost like an oxymoron to do that. So for me, and this kind of leads into the conversation of today, is and I guess it's maybe kind of a chicken and the egg thing. Is it the leadership of the country that's creating what's happening or fueling what's happening? Or is it the country that's making the leadership look not capable? So when we talk about what's happening and with what the media is showing us and what they're putting up there, it's continuing to be divisive. And in the comments, that's what I was just writing down, someone was asking, has anything really been changed since George Floyd? And I don't think anything. I think there have been minor things that are starting to change, but like I said last time, unless there's a specific goal and there's a vision and we know where we're going, how can anything really change?
Could I say something real quick before Cash, and then we'll have Cash talk, then we'll introduce everybody to finish this conversation up. It's funny, we talk about what kind of policing has changed. And there has been some since George Floyd. You talk about a lot of cities have banned chokeholds. They've banned certain things that some cities had the knee on the neck ban and all that. And now that's all banned. What I find fascinating is that all of the policing that had to change were involving how to police when somebody is resisting arrest. So couldn't we realize that yes, it's a little bit of both, leadership mixed with the actual people, but all of the instances have one easy solution, which is to comply. And there has been a history of reasons why people don't comply, because unfair justice system, et cetera. But we have, it's now socioeconomically skewed, but we've gotten past that quite a bit. So we've gotten past that. So now the question is, the one thing that could change it all these different policing things that needed to change, was learning to comply. Anyways, that's my thought based on what you said, because I think it's a gray area. Cash, you had a lot of thoughts last night. Go ahead, go to you, and then we will bring up our guests.
Okay, reiterate one time for me. What's the main question right now that I'm answering?
So it's just in response to it's your feelings on Kenosha. There is no real direct response, but we're seeing a lot more. There's been the press conferences today where there's people 2 nights of Kenosha being burnt to the ground, and then does this guy's criminal history, how does it weigh into the situation?
Okay, well, so here's a couple things. First, the dude, first off, was justifiably shot. I'm not going to argue that he didn't deserve what happened to him. That police officer, in my eyes, was in the right. But that's not what people are upset about. And that's the main thing that we got to understand here. They're not upset because the cop shot a pedophile or that he happened. What they're upset about is, again, the media showing a black guy getting shot by a white guy 7 times. Okay, take that instance out of it, because they've been burning stuff down and been rioting because of other situations similar. Now, the problem isn't even any of those situations. The problem is they're going to arrest a criminal. True enough. And they're doing their job. True enough. But they put themselves in the shoes of that person that's getting aggressed by the police officer, whether he's a criminal or he's a saint. Doesn't matter. I was talking to a young kid earlier who was walking through Hobart. Hobart is a nice community. A lot of, people that live in that community have money. It's not a bad community at all. And he was just walking, and he's mixed like me, and the police pulled him over. and they searched him, and he had a little bit of weed on him. They took him to jail. Whole thing. People will say, well, he had weed on him, so they took him to jail. True, but why did they pull him over? He was just walking through the community. He's a 17-year-old kid. He was profiled. That's what happened. So the problem isn't the whole murder of black people that's happening, or justified killing of black people that's happening at the hands of the police. The problem is the way that people are treated as a whole by the police that happen to be black. And the problem is that it's not being addressed in a proper way. Yeah, we can say nobody agrees with what happened to George Floyd. True enough. But there were countless reports made on that officer prior to him ever meeting George Floyd, and it was never brought to attention. He should have never been on the force. He should have been already checked out. He should have already been punished for things that he had already done. So the problem that people are angry, the thing that's got black people angry in this country isn't the fact that they feel that, all cops are bastards or all cops are bad or none of that. The problem is that when there is a bad cop, he's not reprimanded. When there is a bad police officer that does something wrong, he's not held accountable for what he's done. When there is a bad cop that's out there being racist, there is a bad cop out there being racial profiling people, he's not being held accountable. And that's the problem that's got people up in arms, because they will never, we don't, like me, I don't excuse a criminal. I don't excuse when that black dude got shot, by the police. I'm all like, yo, he deserved it. He was wrong. But on the other end of things, people won't say, well, that cop was wrong. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Most people won't. Most of America won't. Most of America will stick up for him and bring up the criminal history. Well, he was this, and that. Or they'll bring up that he's a thug, or he was resisting arrest. Whatever it is, whatever the case is that they bring up in defense of it. But they never say, well, we need to take a closer look at that police department, because these people are tearing up the city, and it can't just be because of this one thing. There has to be a couple other things that have happened there for them to be this angry to say, you know what, we getting taken advantage of anyway. Let's burn this shit down. So people are angry because of how they've been treated as a whole in different communities. And it's not being acknowledged. Their pain isn't being acknowledged by anybody in the system to say, you know what, that cop was wrong. We need to look at this police department, and we need to figure out who's got all these incident reports. What's the nature of the report that's being made? Because some people are just assholes and they just want to make a report on a cop because they don't like them. True enough. But more often than not, there's some real legitimate complaints. There's officers that are racist. That came out not too long ago about the officers that were in the KKK. They were white supremacists. They were actually police chiefs. Yeah. Okay. And they are the ones excusing the things that happen. So they need to be the ones brought under a microscope, not the whole police department. Absolutely. The ones that are constantly getting complaints filed on them. The ones that are constantly involved in some type of violence. The ones that are constantly praying and targeting black people. Because it does happen. And I know, I'm an advocate of the police. You all know that. I'm not speaking biasly. And that's the thing, because I'm all for the truth. I'm all for the truth of the situations. I'm not going to just say I support cops, so therefore all cops are good. No, I support good cops, which is the point of True Blue Tuesday. But for a bad cop, I ain't got no love. You deserve to get your ass shot. You deserve to get your ass beat. You deserve to get your ass thrown in jail. Just like that cop that broke that 74-year-old woman's arm. The video that I just seen today broke a 74-year-old woman's arm. Police got called to her home. She didn't do nothing but live there. She did nothing but live there. And then she's getting her arm broke, and nothing happens. They don't release no body cam footage. They don't reprimand that cop. They don't say anything in defense. They don't apologize. They're unapologetic for the wrongs that are done to the people that are victims in cases where cops are the criminals, where cops are the aggressor. Yeah. So
I could not agree more. And I just I'm going to bring Jam up right now, but the one thing I want to say to that is what I was saying in the very beginning, when I was saying in that little opening statement, is we're starting to become a country of cause and effect. And unfortunately, are any of us willing to be a police officer right now when we see the police officers getting jumped around, yelled at when bricks are hitting in their head? Well, you're a little braver than most Americans that are right now. The people that would like to are the ones that want to take out aggression on the situation. So we're breeding a world of bad cops, and that's an unfortunate circumstance, and that's why things are not progressing anymore is the way they were. So we're breeding a playground for bad cops. It's also they're hiding people's records. They're hiding policemen's records because they can't find other people to fill their positions because nobody wants to be a police officer. So that's why it makes it even harder. So I'm going to agree with you, Cash. We need to punish those people, but there's and the system is a problem, is a huge issue, but we actually have to realize that you can't, like I said, it's one book in the library. We're looking at one book in the library. We're looking at the cop killings. We're not looking at the systematic issues. We're not looking at Curtis and his friends that are lawyers and doctors getting pulled over by the police for no reason and dragged out of a car. Those are some huge issues. Those are the things we have to shine the light on. But now instead, we're creating more hate by showing shit like this.
Exactly.
All right.
It's
I will say really.
Here's the thing, and this is where it gets twisted, and this is where it gets messed up. It's the media. It's the media. And everything that I just said right now can be handled. We don't have to wait for a politician. If we all came together and united and said, okay, look, they're burning shit down. Obviously, not everybody that's burning things down out there is a criminal. Some of them are just angry because they had personal experiences, like that young kid that I talked to today. He's not a bad kid. He's graduated high school. He's on the 8 honor roll. He smokes a little bit of bud. You know what I'm saying? But he's not a bad kid. He's not a criminal. Yet he gets profiled like he's a criminal, which creates an anger and a distrust for not only the police, but for, in his mind, white people. So he's getting two things that he's looking at like they just do me bogus. They treat me like I ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? And believe me, it is wrong to put everybody in one box. You know me. You know my stance on all of this stuff. Yeah. But what I'm saying is we have to come together as people, all of us, united, Democrat, Republican, far left, far right, white, black, don't matter. We all got to come together and say, okay, where is this? This is happening over here. There's a problem. Let's petition something to that police department to put eyes on the people. I want to know all the complaints that was filed here in this police department by these cops, specifically the cop that shot this guy, or specifically the guy that broke this chick's arm.
It's hard because, and I get it. It's not news. It gets muffled. Like, look at what just happened. Look at this guy that got pulled. Look at this. Like, oh wait, but that guy got killed. We got to go to that, even though it might have been justified. All right, I really want to. Jam is in back, getting really, really excited. Curtis, you got one last thing you want to say?
Yeah, I just want to say that it's something that it goes beyond just the police. And Cash, you just touched on it. It takes us, right? If we don't profile people, and we have to give people, because I'll be honest, even myself is at fault when I see certain people and I go, oh, why? And then I question myself now, why am I getting nervous? This person has done nothing. They're just standing on the side. Am I aware? Always. Doesn't matter where I'm at. But the other part of it is also being a black person. I will say, when I'm walking on the street, and even the clothes I wear, my mom told me to be professional, but there was always that way, if you're professional, police won't look at you like you're doing something wrong. Other people won't think that you're going to rob them or whatever. And it's like, Dave Chappelle actually did a skit on it. Was like, you're a non-threatening black guy. And I got called that in high school. Oh, you're a non-threatening black guy. As if that was a problem. And I was like, well, hold on. What? Well, what's a regular threatening black guy? And so this is something that, again, this is ingrained in school, and so we have to, and I'm going to bring you bring Jam up, but I just hope people realize that this isn't, again, not just the police that have a part in this. We all have a part in this because somebody's got to call the police on people that they think are a problem. And so we have to make sure we really do our due justice, because that's what happened to Ahmaud Arbery. And there's a rule called the citizens arrest rule that was put out during the Civil War to arrest slaves. And that's why those guys weren't, one of the reasons why those guys weren't arrested right away, because Georgia was a big proponent of that, of course.
Right.
So,
I get it.
Yeah.
Aaron, go ahead then, Jam.
Yeah, I know you're going to bring Jam up, but my thing is call to action. So I don't know if we've done this yet. I think we need to take the topics that we've talked about, maybe 3 to 5 of the topics we've talked about, post them up and have people respond with what they would like to see changed, how they think it could be different. Yeah. And see if across the board we're getting some similar things or if it's completely different. Because I think we've talked about the topics, but we haven't talked about these calls to change and how to actually change these things. We were saying, like what Cash is saying, I fully agree with. We have to come together and we have to change that. But with me, it's the, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? What's the call of action to make it happen? And that, otherwise we're just talking words. So
We'll bring them up, and then before we go on to who we're voting for, because I don't think that needs to be an 8-hour discussion, we'll go ahead and get back to that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring.
We can do it later. I
like the idea because this is a specific topic that warrants that. So I'm going to introduce all three of our guests. When I bring you guys on, Jam, when I bring you on first, just introduce yourself. Of course, did Aaron click that? Of course he did. No, Curtis did. All right, we're going to bring Jam on. And then we're going to have Nick come on and then Carolyn. But right now, when you guys come up, just introduce yourself. Don't go ahead and talk about the topic. We'll get back into that in a second. So introducing the stage from Baltimore, J-Train. What's up, Jam? How you doing?
I'm doing well, guys. Hey, it is Jamila Fort. I'm in the Outer Banks right now on vacation. Here with you guys. Trying to get some insight. Trying to voice my opinion here, but I am from Baltimore. Former school educator into a school leader. And yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yep, I love it. And of course, I know I watched you in back watching Cash doing all these different things and getting into it. And you are going to be our Democrat or liberal for this show. And then I'm going to now bring up our current mid-round or undecided voter. Last time we checked, I don't know where he is right now, but I'm going to go ahead and bring up Mr. Nick Fanning, old friend of mine. Nick, how's it going, man? Oh, I think you muted your own mic. Let me see if I can unmute you. Nope. Go ahead and mute it or unmute yourself one time. Check one, check two. There you go. You're good. Go for it. What's up, Nick Fanning? Sorry to make you wait so long and back. And congratulations on the new baby.
Yeah, no. So I'm a long-time Black guy, new father. So I am in a world traveler. I traveled around, seen some things. Have my degrees in sociology and anthropology. Although I have a science background, what I studied in college. All of that has shaped my opinion. Also, the events I've been through. So I'm very just happy to be a sort of a voice of reason. I've been on both sides of a lot of these things, from being pulled over and harassed from the cops, the police treating you somewhat different because you got to dress different for work, and being out in bum crap Ohio with all my white friends and doing whatever down there too, and being at a KKK bar and being the only Black guy there. So I've done all sorts of crazy shit.
Awesome. Nick, we'll get back to you in a second. We're going to go ahead and introduce Carolyn as well. Jam's internet's in and out. We're going to do the best we can with her. That's what happens when you go on vacation. Carolyn, from last week, everybody remembers Carolyn. Welcome back. Go ahead and introduce yourself again if somebody's new.
Yeah, hi, I'm Carolyn. Thank you for having me back. Hello, guys. Hello, Jim. I'll be honest with you. I don't even know how I ended up here. It just happened. I'm here. I'm just here. God thinks I have something to say or some input or some way to bridge something. I felt before I ended up here that I had something to share. I didn't know what it was. But I always just asked God to please deliver the words through me with compassion and let it be His will and not mine, and help me to respond the way it needs to be done.
Got it. Love it. And again, on this topic that we're talking about right now, one of the reasons I brought Carolyn, she wanted to talk about why she's a conservative voter. So again, if you don't, this is an uncomfortable topic. And if you really don't want to talk about it, you don't have to talk about this one. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead. I know Jam was waiting back, and then I'm going to go to Nick. But first, Jam, with your opinions, and I know you're just starting to learn about this based on everything that was said in our group. Go ahead. What is your take on the situation? Because I know it's evolved even in the 30 minutes from the point that we started talking backstage.
We're still talking about Kenosha, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I 100% agree with Cash, and even Aaron, who built off later about it. And what I was explaining to you earlier, right? How one of my students, I had asked them, I said, hey, Kashia, I asked everybody, I said, how do you guys feel about the actual looting and the violent riots and whatever? And she had mentioned, well, Miss Fort, what else are we supposed to do? We're powerless. We don't really have a voice. So we don't feel like there's any way we can make a change unless we cause a ruckus, right? And that was out of the words of a 10-year-old. And then Anthony, you had mentioned to me, you were like, well, that's, kind of a lack of education, and not education in the sense of a school building education, but a lack of knowledge that there's a bigger picture happening behind the riots happening behind the police brutality. There are issues within each system, police and Black people aside, that really need to be addressed, right? And as Aaron said, right, like there needs to be some sort of like diagram that says, all right, here are the issues that we need to be attacking. The media is a piece of shit. The media is going to flip any story to get anybody emotional, to get anybody watching, to get anybody talking. Even releasing that video, I watched that video and like jumped a little bit. I was like, oh shit. But really, I would jump if anybody got shot, right? And we're bringing up the fact that this is a criminal background, blah, 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 blah. And I get that, but it's still really horrific to watch, no matter what the situation. The problem is, Anthony, is that most people watching that video don't know that shit about him and don't care, because this happens so often and the anger is so embedded, and all we see is Black man after Black man after Black man on the news, unarmed, getting shot. And that speaks a different lens. And as you said, too, I wanted to comment on that. You said, well, people are afraid to be police officers. Well, people are afraid to be fucking Black. I'm afraid. I told you earlier, I was afraid to come down to North Carolina, that I was going to get pulled over, and I'm bougie, right? As I was talking earlier, like I get pulled over, I start acting real bougie. I'm like, hi, yeah, I'm a teacher. You know what I mean? And I have to pretend like I'm more white or more appropriate and put my hands on the wheel for what? Because I'm Black, you know? So, I mean, the cards go both ways. And I think that what Cash was saying is right. There are overarching problems that need to be addressed, but people are overreacting right now. And the emotions are high because of the media, unfortunately.
Well, that the media. So the question then becomes, where the responsibility lie? Because ultimately, media is not going to miraculously change. It's just like a drug and the drug dealer. Essentially, the drug if people are continuing to buy the drug, if we're continuing to buy onto the media, they're going to keep doing these stories. When they see that this story that they put out there caused a city to burn down, that's ratings. That is the way that they continue the division. So
of course, I don't think that the problem would have been fixed, though. Like this would have been more Black people getting killed behind the scenes, and we definitely wouldn't know about it because this shit's been going on since slavery, right? So it would just be a matter of cool, the media doesn't blow it out of proportion, but there would be a lot of unknowns. And I think that at the end of the day, that the people getting murdered really get the shitty end of the stick in that regard, because then now the media is not advertising it, and now we don't know that what's going on, and it's kind of worse that way. And I'm saying that it's a double-edged sword. I'm not saying they're either wrong or right.
Jam, before I go to Nick, and then I'm going to go back, I think, to Cash. Before I say that, is there really that many Black people being killed, or is it we see every instance of Black death?
I'm wondering why it matters. I'm wondering why it matters, Anthony.
It does, because it matters because, as you said, we feel like we're getting killed all the time. We're being profiled all the time. Or not we. You guys, Black people are getting profiled all the time. That's the bigger issue. That's what Curtis was talking about. That's what Cash was talking about. But are they really getting killed all the time? Because as you said, you're like, it's up. I don't want to get killed.
But that being killed is a part of the fact that we're always a target of profiling, murder. It doesn't matter. There's an embedded anger there that we can't disregard. That's that trauma we were talking about earlier. You can't disregard that. Like, you can say it all you want. You can't disregard that. I think that education is the key, right? That the only way we're going to get that if we got some education out. Like, for instance, if you were some infamous CNN agent, you just posted like, listen, here's all the charges. Here's what was really going on, and people would see a different perspective. But we're too far down the rabbit hole.
But you use the words "we're getting killed all the time," and I right now, if somebody's got a camera, trust me, we know every time a Black person is killed, a white person, plain and simple. All right, I'm really quick going to go to Nick. We'll obviously come back and forth. Hold on, Carolyn. I'm going to go Nick, Cash, Carolyn. Ready? Nick, have at it.
Yeah, how you doing? And so with the Kenosha thing, I'm not going to rush the judge. I just do know in other videos I've seen more heavily armed individuals not shot and apprehended without being killed. So I can just say that they have to have other ways of non-lethal force to disarm people. And I like to leave with that, because especially since there were kids and things around in that sense, and it's a lot that could go, with that. As far as what you were saying, the profiling, yeah. So the biggest thing with that is this is in this generation where you have cameras. Let's just go back and think about how many people was profiled, pulled over, and that led to wrongful convictions, arrests, and et cetera, getting people involved in a system that is not set up for them to succeed in at all from being profiled. Whereas a white guy is not going to be profiled. So he can go with 7, 8 guns in his car, drive right down the street on his way to do something, not get caught doing it. But just because I was black on the way, I might have got pulled over. So, I mean, yeah, the profiling is a problem. That because technically you're supposed to police everybody the same. If it's going to be no race involved, everybody's supposed to be policed the same, which would mean you're not profiling people. You're pulling them over for actually committing crimes and doing wrong, which is okay. And if you're doing wrong and shit happens, that's what goes down. I'll just real quick, and then I'll pass my time. This right here, this summer of 2020, to me, is just part of what the American tradition is. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with the Red Summer of 1919. And basically what happened during that time, there was a bunch of riots and civil unrest in the country, but it was all because black people were trying to gain rights and access to equality and things. And they were met with force and killed in the streets all across the country by white people and white mobs, so much to the point that the National Guard had to be called in, the military had to call in to break it up. They didn't even want to do it. They didn't even want to break it up because the people and the mayors and the governors in these places didn't want to be seen as wanting to help out Negroes. And this is an actual thing. Look it up. It's the summer of 1919, and it's happening. So when was the next time? In 1960. So every 50 years in America, we have a big cycle of where race becomes real prominent. And it's more so of white people jumping back and like, hey, we're losing our power. We need to go ahead and take this. And the best way is to forcefully take it in front of people. So I just think this is all, it's no different. This is just the Red Summer of 2020. And we're going into, you have cameras now that just shows the things. I mean, people are gonna riot. Yeah, when people are pissed off, you have no outlet, you riot. But at least we're not rioting because of, black people gaining rights. We're rioting because of, hey, we're sick of this shit. Like, and I can't say everybody, because I personally haven't been out there to riot. I have not thrown one stone. I have not lit one fire. I have not done any of that. But I'm also very understanding of those people that are doing it. I don't think victimless property crime, you should be out there doing it. But hey, if that's what you do, it's not bad as killing somebody. So what's the other alternative?
Yeah, well, not doing it. All right. Cash, go ahead.
All right. First off, it's very nice to meet you, Jam, and Fan. Nice to meet you. I gotta call BS though, Fan, on that one with the whole 1919. I know exactly what you're talking about, and this is nothing like that at all. Because when you look at the narrative of why people are out there protesting, see, I can understand if everyone across the nation was protesting because of injustices, and this is a really important thing. Okay, the riots that are happening right now are based off of an emotional response to a false narrative being pushed in the media that black people are getting gunned down by police at an alarming rate, which touches on what you said, Jam, because white people and black people are shot the same rate, not per capita. I'm talking number-wise. There are the same numbers, maybe even more white people are killed by the police than black people, okay? So again, the issue isn't race. It's not a race thing. It only becomes a race thing when you go for profiling. But even then, there's a special way that you have to look at it, because you said it's scary to be black. And when you get profiled for being black in certain communities, which is true, it does happen in certain communities. But in the community where I come from, like I've said many a times, black, white, brown, doesn't matter. You get profiled because you're from my community and you're most likely a gangbanger. So it depends on where you're at, location, and how you look. And then I'm not talking about color. I'm talking about how you dress. I know some thugged out ass white boys. You know what I'm saying? And then it goes into, okay, well, how do we fix that? Well, look at the kid that I talked to today in Hobart. He's in a nice community where there's not a lot of black people. So we need more diversification of communities. There needs to be not only exclusive communities that only white people can achieve to get to. How do we get that? Well, we need more successful people that can afford to live in that area, because I'm sure that there's black people that want to live in an area like in Hobart. And then when they do make it there, made to feel welcome and not like they're different, because his family made it there. His family made it to that community, and he's being profiled by those cops. Not by all cops, by that one dick cop that pulled that dick move on him. So do we demonize all of Hobart? No. We say that, hey, I want to raise a complaint. You guys pulled over my son. Yes, he had weed on him. True enough. But why did he get pulled over in the first place? Did anybody make a call? Was you looking into a robbery or a burglary? Because it was the middle of the day. It's sunlight out here, and he's just walking. So we need to put the spotlight on those kind of issues. There's never, and now I won't say never, if black people were being targeted and killed by the police and nothing was happening, then okay, I'm all for a riot then. All day. If my life is in jeopardy when I walk down the street from a police officer coming to kill me, hell yeah, I'm with a riot. But that's not the case. That's not what's happened. We've made strides since 1919. We've made strides since 1966. We've made strides since 1980. We've made strides since 2000. We have come a very, very, very long way in this country. A very long way. Is there still issues? Of course. We're talking about them today. There are still issues. I agree with you 100%. There are things that we need to talk about, things that need to be addressed, but I do not feel that rioting and burning shit down and tearing up people's businesses in their own community, where their people work at, where our people are working at, we don't destroy those kind of places. If you really want to make some change, then you get up, get everyone together, and you go protest, and you make a demand, and you say, listen, either this shit's going to change, you're not going to keep profiling us, you're not going to keep treating us different than you treat other people. And I guarantee you, if we did it this way, you'd have more people involved in this cause. There'd be a lot more white people being on board with it when we're together as a community of people saying we're standing against police brutality. We're not standing against white cop killing black man. We're standing against crooked cop killing any American. You get what I'm saying? It's all about how you present. It's never what you say. It's how you say it. That's it. And unity at the core of that will make the change, because that's what made all the changes. When Dr. King came and he was out there with his nonviolence, and he brought that nonviolence, brought white, black, brown, Jew, Christian, Muslim, all together to stand for civil rights in a manner that caused more profound change than probably anyone else in the history of this country. And he did it with nonviolence. So I disagree.
All right, I'm going to go back. I'll go back to Nick in a second. Carolyn, we're going to do Carolyn, Curtis, Nick, because I know Nick disagreed with that one. So I'm going to go ahead and I want him to have a chance to reply, but I'm going to go ahead and unmute Carolyn. Carolyn, go ahead.
Hi. So like you said, I mean, I'm not an expert. I'm not going to pretend to be. I'm just going to go by my observation. And again, I agree with all of your points, your pains, your passions in this content. When I see that happening, my questions are, like Anthony, you had mentioned earlier, and when I think it was in your opening or some point, you all had touched on something I was going to say, is like we've come to this place where we start to glorify criminals, right? And look at police like they're the criminals. The pendulum is swinging too far one way or the other. There has to be a balance that comes in. Is it to say, like, no one should ever get shot. No one should ever get shot. And do I believe, I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. There were 7 rounds shot off. Do I think that was a bit much personally? Yes, I do. I don't think 7 shots need to be fired to stop anybody that close to you, but I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. So I'm not an expert. They'll call in use of force experts to determine that. What I want to look at that is, like you said, about the media, how they're going to use that to incite and play on emotions, because they already have people, and I'm not going to say just black people, I'm going to say a mix of people that are supporting like the whole Black Lives Matter things, and they do matter. So don't mistake my words, please. But there's a mix of people fighting for that, right? And it's fueling that, and the media is playing on that, and they're going to turn this into something even bigger to divide even further, is what I see happening. I watched his sister speak. I don't know if anybody else saw that, where the lawyer was there and all that. I saw that, and my heart broke for them as a family.
He's still alive.
Lost a family member, regardless of how bad. Right. Oh, okay, good. So there was.
He can't. He's
passed,
currently
so I
paraplegic.
felt
He's
like
currently
I
unable to
had-
walk. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Was he the most upstanding citizen? No, there are so many pieces to this. Like Cash was saying about his criminal background. And then you have the family crying in tears. And then you have the police that may have gone, excessive. But we can pull that apart all day long. And the question still is, how do you begin to change the infrastructure? How do you begin to build new infrastructure so that this stops happening, right? And Jim and Cash, I guess you had that conversation about Black people
Yep.
dying and getting killed in the streets, right, by cops. And Anthony, you made comment about this is what the news is portraying, right? This is what you see. You see them focusing on this, right? So my question would be, does anybody here know about Charles Chip Chase?
No.
Has anybody ever heard of him?
No.
No, well, 5 days ago in Augusta, Georgia, he's a white police officer, a code enforcement officer who got killed, shot to death by a Black man. And I'm not saying it's a Black man's fault. I'm saying this is the stuff you don't hear about. That little boy Cannon, nobody heard about that. Jim, all I'm saying is I'm not negating what's going on. I'm not at all, because it's happening. I agree with you. But what I'm saying is it looks even worse than it is, as bad as it is, because there's no contrast. There's no other. It's all one-sided. It's all being played to one narrative. And people are getting really drawn into that for valid reasons and invalid reasons.
Yeah.
There are two sides to that.
All right. Well said, Carolyn. Curtis, go ahead. Do I have you muted? No, you're good. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just really quick, talking about what Cash was saying about how a young man was in a neighborhood that was predominantly, not really diversified, and how he, was profiled by the police. Also, most likely profiled by people. And again, I don't want to assume, but I just know from how I grew up when we got out of the hood, we were living in an area that was, I think it was 2 Black families in the whole neighborhood. Now, I didn't have any problem with the kids, but I knew there were times where parents looked at me as I was running, because I was training, I was an athlete, down the street, and they looked at me differently. But this is something that goes back to, how do we change things, right? And why are this family had to work so hard to get a chance live in the suburbs? And this goes back to, the racial profiling in the FHA system that was there when the whole movement of people leaving the city went out to the suburbs, and how they blocked Black people from going out there. The Color of Law is a very good book, and I again urge everybody to read it, because you can't write that off because it's so far away. It's not. That's my grandparents. My grandfather had to leave the state of South Carolina, go get educated in the North, come back down to South Carolina, find a way to get his license, because he sold over 50 houses in his neighborhood to all types of people, but mostly Black people. And I asked him, I said, and I think I've said this before earlier on, I said, grandfather, why aren't, in my head, I'm like, you sold over 50 houses. Why we ain't rich, right? And I said it with bad grammar, because my grandfather said, because Black people could not buy a house from a white person, and they couldn't buy a house not just from a white realtor, they couldn't buy a house from a white person, because it was in their deeds in some of these places. They could not resell their house to a Black person. Now, fast forward to 2020, and I see something that was, and it kind of got passed over in the news because of all this. HUD just rolled back the regulations and rules that was forcing cities to make sure that they were providing housing, affordable housing, to people in wealthier neighborhoods and areas that were getting built up, in places that were getting gentrified. And I was actually in a meeting in Miami with some of the leaders of Miami, like the police chief and some other local leaders, and they were saying how the inner city is getting passed over, because Miami, if you have been down there, is building these huge, one of these apartments is $20 million and $100,000 and all these different things, but there's nothing going on for the local community. So when I see the HUD, and I don't want to blame the president, but he is in charge right now. So we just have to make sure we look at these things.
That's rollbacks, but it actually can be affected directly by local government, which is a completely different story. So Curtis, really quick, and then we go to Nick. With what you just said, everything that happened to your grandparents and what happened then is part of history that needs to be taught. But we can't. We're having a discussion right now on a guy that resisted arrest, and we're now looking at Somehow it's been changed. We're talking about profiling, absolutely, but the guy was literally fighting with
No. I said he's a pedophile.
I'm trying not to focus on just that person because, again, what the media is going to do is focus on that person instead of what Cash was saying is focus on other issues. And what I'm saying is the issues are outside of just that. They lead up to this. We're looking at just the symptom.
They lead up to it, and then we're now like somehow somebody like you, Curtis, who I've had great conversations with, is now deciding to somehow, and I'm going to use the term that I said is thrown out way too much. You're gaslighting the actual conversation we're having by talking about, by manipulating the conversation to talk about, look at the racism from 50, 60 years ago. It absolutely plays a role in today, but in that moment, that man it did not play a role in that moment, period.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. What I'm just saying is we were also bringing up the other things of it, and I was thinking we were talking about the entire problem, not just that flashpoint that is being glorified right now.
Right. Well,
that's the whole point.
Okay. All right.
That's all I'm saying. I'm saying.
So in this case, as much as I don't want to talk about this subject, let's focus on the subject. And then, as Aaron said, we're going to find a way to end the conversation with how to come out of it more in a positive way. Nick,
Aaron's going to tie it all together, baby.
First Nick, then Jam, and then Aaron. And then we're going to wrap this conversation up. Go ahead, Nick. I'm unmuting you right now.
Yeah, as I hear you guys throw the media out there a lot, as the media is the guys or the people that are feeding these narratives out there. I ultimately go, well, who's in control of the media companies? Who's in control of the publications? Who's in control of that stuff? And what benefits do they have for putting this out? You say it's all for views and things like that, but to me, it's the same thing. You make more money when people are divided, man. The vision in this country is where it's been at a lot, and that's what they want to perpetuate. I feel as though that's what, and I agree with you, how you said that you see it's getting worse as far as like the race relations and the division in the country, and I couldn't agree more. And sorry, Cash, I don't agree with you that it's gotten somewhat better since 1919, obviously, because you can't just get killed in the street, but then you can. So I hear you. Yeah, it has gotten better. I know what you mean, but to me, I don't think necessarily that because some things got better, we're still talking about the same types of actions happening. Yes, now if this guy,
no, I understand.
A criminal act is a criminal act. If you do not deserve to be killed just because you're a criminal either. That's not, I mean, that's something that you talk about. Yeah, criminals are criminal. You don't deserve to be killed just because you're a criminal. Now, if he's going back to that car and he grabs a weapon, they're going to fire his ass up. They shot him anyway. Like, I mean, I'm saying, what's...
But you don't know in that moment.
No, but my brother...
Go ahead, Kat.
Look, what I'm saying here, though, is you're saying just because he's a criminal, he doesn't deserve to die. I agree 100%. But when you are... First off, the police came there to serve a warrant for his arrest for being with a 15-year-old girl and beating a woman's ass.
Yeah, so he needs to go anyway.
Okay? So they were coming to get him. He's holding a knife. He has his children in the car. And the police are holding restraint. First, they tased him. That failed. He still has the knife. He's telling them he's going to go to his car and get his gun. And they're telling him to stop. Look at their mouths in the video. They're telling him to stop, put the knife down, get on the ground. He disregarded all of it. And then he proceeds to walk around the car, open the door. They tried to grab him from the door, and he started resisting and reaching. As soon as he reached, that's when they fired his ass up. Now, is that unfortunate? Hell yeah, because his kids had to see that. But whose fault is it? Was that cop racist?
Oh, it's his
fault.
Hell
no, that cop was doing his job. He did that to himself in front of them kids. And on top of that, he ruined some other little girl who's now in the public eye is being known as the little girl that was raped or slept with this man knowingly or unknowingly, but she's too young to be able to make that decision for herself. So he was not just a criminal. He's one of the worst kinds of criminals. Did he deserve to die? In my book, hell yeah, because I'm a hood nigga. And that's how I feel about rapists. That's how I feel about people that sleep with little kids. But that's my opinion. I'm not God. God obviously didn't want him to die because that motherfucker's still laying in the hospital bed.
Yeah. Yeah, the one thing between that conversation is I think that there's a key thing you said, Nick, and I think this is how we as Americans are starting to portray it. Somebody says criminals don't deserve to die. And somehow we're equating it to people that are resisting arrest, putting officers' lives at risk, or just your basic criminal. Criminals do not deserve to die. Criminals deserve to go through the justice system. But if you put anybody at risk, whether it's the police officer or whether it's anybody else, you are running the risk of being dead. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is.
Hey, not to cut you, Anthony. I'm sorry. That was another point I wanted to make. Also, that's why it's important to educate people on the laws and the policies in the cities in which they live, in the states in which they live. Because when you resist, not only when you resist, but when you're holding a weapon and you say something that is threatening to the lives of an officer or the people around, at that point, you could be in your car and the police telling you to stop, and you go to actually try to run that cop over. He has the right to aim his gun and blow your head off because you're putting his life in jeopardy. And that man directly said that he was going to get his gun and shoot the cop. Right then and there was grounds for them while he's holding a knife. Right then and there, they showed restraint. And people say, oh, well, I've seen instances where white people had a knife and they were talking shit to the police and they didn't get shot. True, but I've seen instances where there was an unarmed white kid where he got shot by the police with an AR-15 about 10 times in his chest while he's on his knees, begging for his life, telling the cops, please, he's just scared. But they don't show that. You have to see that on the internet. They don't put that in the news because they want us to be divided. So you ask the question, why? Why does the media do it? It's not just about money and ratings. It's about control. They know that if they say racism on their news network and show you racism, and they show it to a bunch of angry ass, pissed off black people that are already skeptical about white people and the police, that we're going to have a reaction that is going to be negative and we'll probably tear some shit up. They know that. So they're manipulating us personally to do their bidding, because what they want to do is destroy the country. That's what they want to do. They want us to stop looking at all the other things that are going on in this world and stay focused and in our anger. So we can't think about anything else other than our anger towards what's going on, which isn't actually real. Profiling, real. Black people being killed at an alarming rate, fake. Go for it.
Jam, all you, and then Aaron, and then I'm going to play one more video when we're done with this, and then we're going to do a quick who we're voting for. Shut up, Aaron.
Yeah, I thought this would actually be a great segue topic into who we're voting for and why, because of the mention of the fact that our country is so fucked up and divided. So I got lost in, everything that was going on. And I think that, Cash, I don't know you. I didn't know you prior to this. And I'm about, I would say 80-85% with you, right? I'm almost sold, but
Jam, I'm going to stop you real quick because I think you said something really important. Because in the very beginning of this show, the thing that we strove for is to realize that we think that we're 20% the same when really we're 80% the same, and that's literally all we have to realize. So well said on that point, Jam. Go ahead. I
said Cash, and I was 80% of that. No, but listen. Hear me out on this, because I'm a thinker. I'm very bright, and I don't like to just jump from side to side. But one day I was talking to friends, and I was like, God damn it, we need like leaders in this shit, right? Because people are so motherfucking misinformed and this way and that way. And what's beautiful about a person like Cash, and I'm gonna say this because Cash is black. I know he's half black, which is probably even more monumental, right? I think that we can't go, like Curtis was saying, we can't disregard our history. Okay. Sure. I'm sorry, Carolyn, for making the faces that I made. And you, like Anthony, there's nothing you can do right now to change this about the black community. There is a large mistrust from black people in the white community. And as someone who just bought a $300,000 house in a white community, okay, there needs to be like, black people need to be the ones educating black people. So I hear Cash, and he's speaking from a different perspective that I'm willing to listen to. And like Anthony, I love you. I love all of that. But it's weird because when it comes from you and you nearly say some of the same thing that Cash is saying, I am more receptive to what Cash is saying because he's got this history of being a black person. And I only say that to say, not to say, Anthony, shut up and stop talking. I only say that to say is that if we're on here and we are trying to be hashtag be the change, what we really motherfucking need is people to come in and be the change with people that we are going to listen to. Okay, because like I'm future CEO of schools right now. I'm telling you right now, y'all gonna see 10 years from now, you be like, oh my God, Dr. Ford, she was up on. But I'm gonna be in positions of power, and I need people to listen to me, and I want Black people specifically to listen to me. So I feel so privileged to be on a show where we have such conflicting ideas from white people, mixed Black people, maybe you can get an Asian on here. I don't know, right? I feel really grateful for this because I think that ultimately we really are talking about the same goal, that we're all saying that there's other factors playing into play here. And Anthony, you've got your, like, let's just talk about the situation. And yes, let's talk about the situation. You're right. Ain't nobody needed to go riot over this shit. It was plain and simple what it was. We talked about the media. We talked about the history of Black people. But the real be the change right now that I'm seeing today is us rising up and helping change each other and having a model, having a leader of which we will listen to and respect. So I appreciate all of what was said. I've been real passionate. No. Yes. Because I'm a person that is on board with the change. So I appreciate you, Anthony. I appreciate you, Cash. I appreciate everybody on the call for that. Your baby is freaking cute as hell. Okay, Nick, like with his baby. So yeah, but I do want to say that, Cash, and I'm about to sit here and promote you all over my page because I'm just like, this is the type of shit we need to hear because even I get caught up with the media, you know, and I'm smart and I'm educated. I live in a white community and I feel profiled and whatnot. And I know the reasons for that, but there's just such a bigger picture. We need people out here who are painting the right picture, which is the real picture, not painting their own picture of their agenda. It's just like the raw facts. We
just can't speak from a place of emotion.
Right.
We have to be rational. We have to use logic when we're thinking about the issues and the solutions to those issues. Yep. If we react in anger each time, then that means we fall right back into their trap that they wanted us to do in the first place. We ain't fucking animals. And we show them how easily we can be controlled and manipulated each time we react the way that they want us to.
Yep.
And Jam, I'm not offended in any way. I know people on the outside are saying like, oh wait, you don't listen to white people. Absolutely, that's
not true.
That's not true. And honestly, what you said is very valid. And that's why I love the fact that I work with Curtis, I work with Aaron, I work with Cash, because I know that no matter how much people know who I am and know what my heart is and know what I mean, I know that there is no way to change the psyche overnight. And I know that I can't. If I say something, it's going to sound different, which is why here's the other problem. And this is the one thing I'm going to ask of you guys is when you see people arguing because like I know somebody tagged Cash in a post saying, Cash, help me out on this one. They're like, oh, you're going to tag your Black friend.
Oh, yeah.
Well, but that wasn't the intention. The intention was there's certain things that you're not trusting me for right now. And then it goes into the whole category of microaggressions when people say microaggressions, when people say, oh, I have a Black friend. But fact is, ultimately, we're trying to get some kind of equal ground and it's shut down really fast. And the other thing, besides teaching things that we can't say, is also being an advocate for the fact that not all white people have a different come from. We do actually are trying to create change and we're trying to be different and be better.
Yeah, I think that it goes by unity and it's a definition of unity because there's a strategy behind it. Because the country is so fucked up and divided, in which we should go straight into Trump and Biden over this, right? It's all this political shit of control. So as of right now, it is a strategy base of how we make the change because the facts are the facts. A percentage of Black people aren't going to listen to white people. A percentage of white people aren't going to listen to Black people. So it's just a matter of how we can put in avenues and people in place to gain this whole perspective because Cash might be out here changing white people or Black people's perspective. And then suddenly they hear you, Anthony, and they're like, yeah, I agree with Anthony because they've already had that mindset shift from a person they trust, a person that doesn't make them already feel guarded and offended. Do you know what I mean?
Right. No, absolutely. You're 100% spot on. I'm going to have Aaron wrap this up. That we're going to talk about voting. He's going to tie it all together. And I do appreciate that, Jam. And I wanted to say that because I know people on the outside are like, a couple people are saying like, we have to stop seeing color. That's kind of like me saying we have to stop. We have to stop racism tomorrow. None of these things happen overnight. We're not going to. Fact is, we're all different people. And I think Cash and I have had this conversation. part of what makes us beautiful as humans is we are different colors and we have different upbringings and we have different backgrounds and there's certain traditions and things that are different. So instead of being colorblind, which is a politically correct term of perfection, how about let's start appreciating, let's be allies, let's advocate, let's be friends.
Allies. I love the word allies. I love the word allies.
Aaron, tie this bitch together.
Okay, let's start at the beginning with two words: fear and accountability. Starting with fear, and this is a rhetorical question for people to just kind of think about. What are you afraid of? What is it that you're actually afraid of? And identify that, because that's what people are reacting to right now. They're reacting out of fear. Cool. And I'm not a history person, but that is a way to gain power, is that fear. And that is what is greatly happening. So many people are afraid, and they're saying, I'm afraid of black people, or I'm afraid of white people, or I'm afraid of cops. What is it that you're afraid of? If you're playing into that, is that helping the situation or is that hurting the situation? So what are you afraid of? Accountability. That, I feel like the word accountability is what really needs to get taught in schools. It needs to be taught in families. It needs to be taught in schools, because that is what we're lacking right now, especially with how instantaneous media is. Definitely. People don't know what accountability is. You can sit behind a screen and say what you have to say, sit behind a keyboard, type what you want to type, and you're not held accountable for your actions. So then when we're out in public and we actually have to interact with each other, what happens? It brings me to what you just said, Jam, of the right picture, the real picture. That's like the phrase common sense. My common sense is not the same as Nick's, is not the same as Curtis's. And there used to be a point where common sense was a phrase used because there were common values that we shared, and we don't all have that anymore. So when you say the real picture, the right picture, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, if I think 2 + 2 = 4 and you think 1 + 1 + 1 = 4, both of those are true.
No, 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. I got you.
You know what I'm saying, Cash. I'm gonna call that man and tell him to keep your car longer. You better settle down.
I love you too, big brother.
So it's perspective and it's openness. And that's what the show is it's teaching this openness and being able to understand different people's perspectives and how they're thinking about things in order to empower ourselves. When people are hearing, I only want to listen to this color person, or I only want to listen to people that I trust, I completely understand that, because you're going to be more receptive to that information from someone you trust. But there's also an openness to hearing what someone else is saying. I think it's your choice what you receive from that other person's information, but completely blocking that information or not hearing that information, I don't think that's a great thing to do. So leading into this next conversation that we're having about who you're voting for, it's America. We're all going to be different. We all have different values on what we want, but being able to see the color and know that the different shades of color and the different personalities are all what are making us great. We have to embrace those. We have to see those, and we have to see what those different things are bringing to the table. A football team has different players in each position because they all bring the team together. And that's the biggest thing of this show. And that's what I want everyone that's watching to gain from the show, is that right and wrong are very difficult words to say right now, because we haven't created a platform. We haven't created the values of what we want for that. And that leads into the conversation of who we're voting for, because that essentially shows what our values are and what we're leaning towards and where we want to see this country go. And the last point that I will say to this goes to what Nick said. People continue to be surprised when things happen again. Life is cyclical. I've said this before. Life is cyclical. It is not linear. The things that are happening now have happened in the past, and they will happen again. but knowing how to identify what is happening now to be able to make a difference when it happens again, that is what we have to do. And that's what so many people aren't looking at. And that's why I brought up, well, what are the issues that we continue to talk about? And what are some bullet points? What are some goals that we can accomplish from now until then, so that we're not talking about the same things, black versus white, class, money, whatever it is. We're not talking about that. We go, oh, I remember when this happened in 2020. This is what we did. How do we expand on this to make it better?
Perfect. I like that. All right. So before I'm going to have Nick, since Nick is undecided, I'm going to have him go first, but I want Carolyn's got one really quick thing to say. So I want to bring her back on, and then we're going to have Nick kind of talk about, I think that's a good way to start on a discussion about voting, is not knowing where to go right now. So Carolyn, what did you want to follow up with?
Okay, so this is going to be really different. For whoever's willing to follow along with me, take about 60 seconds, since we're moving into this space of who we're going to vote for, who we should vote for, right? And getting in alignment with our values. I'm going to do a quick little exercise for those of you who are willing to do it with me. So I'm going to have you all take a nice deep breath. Yeah. And have you close your eyes down. And just relax yourself, okay? I want you to ask your higher self, your soul, just connect to that space in your heart. And I want you to ask yourself, what do I want? And just notice the first thing that comes up. Don't judge it, don't analyze it. The first thing that comes up, what do I want? Make note of what you got. Don't open your eyes yet. What do I really want? First word, no judgment, no analyzing. One more go. What do I really, really want? First thing that come up. When you feel done, you can open your eyes. Now I'm just really curious to throw out some words that came up for us, for you.
Aaron, go ahead.
Aaron, you had big smiles.
Just how you said it, the first thing that popped into my head was the Spice Girls.
Well,
So
apparently him after thinking of Spice Girls.
I was waiting.
What I want, this is what I thought of. I mean, I saw the whole thing in my head. I want to be sitting on the water, eating a good meal, drinking a good glass of wine, wearing a nice pair of shoes, with people just like me, different from me, and there's no issues. And that's what I want, because it's peaceful, it's serene, it's calm. People aren't living to work; they're working to live.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Anybody else want to share something?
Mine was basic. Mine was simple. Mine was happiness, and then as I thought more, it was actually not happiness in my life; it was happiness in others.
Beautiful, beautiful. Jam.
Oh, yeah.
Jam, you're up.
All right. I thought unity, and I thought basically similar to Aaron. I just felt like, and safety was the first word, and then it was unity. And that's, I mean, whoever can come into the office and make me and this country feel safe, like together, and make us feel like we're the United States of America. And like if Japan came over here and rocked us, we gonna go rock them. You know what I mean? That type of feel. That's I'm not gonna continue, but that's where
Nick, you're up. Go ahead.
I was looking at him out in the hallway. That's why I didn't close my eyes, because my family and us being good is all I ever want. So I'm good.
All right. Let's see. Cash, what do you got?
First, I thought something nasty, and then and then I thought security. That word, and security covers a lot of things. Everybody wants to be secured in life, in their home, in their relationship, in their finances, in their dwelling. Security is something that if people felt security, we wouldn't have riots today. We wouldn't have these discussions today.
Exactly. Exactly.
Great word.
Yeah.
Curtis, you're up. You're up last.
Well, I didn't know it was for the who we were gonna vote for.
No, it's just
No, it's not.
Oh, okay, all right.
No.
Because I was like, my second one is nothing close to that. So at first I was like, I don't know, and then she's like, the first time think again. I was like, all right, peace, right? Like we want peace, and it's not even just like peace from racial, but it's been a tough pandemic. You know, and people don't realize that. And I really feel like we're not addressing those feelings enough. And we're putting our anger and our fear and our uneasiness into other things because we want to, you know, find ways to express it. And we're like bad children and we just don't tell them what's really wrong, right? That was the first one. The second one was, this is, you know, this is not nasty or anything. A wife. I was like, oh yeah, a wife would be nice.
No,
too.
that's beautiful.
Yeah, you know, your boy is single out here. You know what I'm saying? I ain't Cash or, you know, you Nick and you know, I ain't got the kids yet.
Hey, Curtis, if you're trying to make this a dating show, you need to get better. You gotta get lighting better in your room.
I don't want this to be a dating
Curtis, how
show,
old
right?
are you?
Me? 33.
Oh,
Jesus.
I'll keep that in mind. Okay. Listen, I'm too old for you. I'll keep it in mind.
Okay.
Ain't nothing wrong with a cougar.
So go ahead, Carolyn. I want you to, move into that point.
Go ahead, Carolyn.
So what I want to say is, so to bring this vibration up, to move into this in a more positive light, stick with those things that came up for you. Let those be your compass. Let that be your guide into what does my life look like with Biden? Do I see peace? Do I see my wife? Do I see Spice Girls? Do I see unity? Do I see all of these things that come up? Is this possible in that political leadership, right? I want security. I want money to have peace, to sit out and live a life. I want to, you know, I want to live, not work, whatever you said, Aaron, however you put it so beautifully. Do I see that with Biden? Does that look like a possibility for Trump? And let's stay in that positive note, and let's look at the things that we want to experience and pull ourselves into that. Because when we can pull ourselves into that, we can pull other people into that. Right? We need to start focusing on what we want to experience and not what we don't want to experience. Because the more we focus on that, the more we're going to debate, the more we're going to argue, the more division we're going to have. Yeah, it clears up some things, right? But we're going to have more in common in what we want. And let that be the bond that brings us forward and the glue that keeps us together moving forward. We need some foundation. And in all of this rucking around of, you know, who's right, who's wrong, whose point is right, who's going to believe this one, who's credible, whatever, I don't know. But if we can just build a foundation on what we all want, and that's peace and happiness and safety and love and joy and prosperity, and we want to grow and we want to have money. I mean, you just bought your own new house, $300,000. Congratulations, Jim. Nick, you have a movie star name. Honest to God, I feel big things coming for you. Their baby's beautiful. You know, and all the rest of you know, and you're all doing well. And Cash, my God, you are so on your way. It's ridiculous. You just don't even know it yet how big it is. So if we can focus on that, we can all be the example. We can all be the lead. We can all be the light. Streetlights. That's what we're here for. We're not here to be dulled out. We're not here to be, you know, people to find their way through the darkness, right? We add the light to pull people through. We're the beacon that flashes, boom, boom, boom. No matter what color we are, I don't care what color we are. I'll help anybody. I don't care about color. And just to let you know, I grew up in the city. My children on both sides have biracial cousins, right? And my children are from a Jewish dad. I mean, I have Muslim cousins. I mean, I come from a very, very diverse family. And when people call me bougie, Jim, I get pissed. I get pissed when they call me bougie. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm not bougie. They're just people. I'm just, you know.
So that's all right. So that's a great way to start the conversation. I don't know where that was last week, Carolyn. Thanks a lot for anybody that watched last week.
I have to warm up.
That would have been nice.
I had to take a chance doing that.
So I know Nick's got fit. What's up? Cash,
hey, I'm sorry. I got to address this real quick. Yo, I've seen a lot of you guys say that you're going to write me in to be the president. Please don't do that. Give my vote to Trump. Just give it to Trump.
Look at Jam. All right, hold on. All right, Nick, I know that you got family stuff, so I want you to start this. And ultimately, the reason why we have these conversations isn't to tell people. I mean, again, with when it comes to Nick, like he's an undecided voter, so he wants to hear some different opinions. But when people are really already set in their ways, there's a chance you might try to change it. But the ultimate thing is for you to realize that your political beliefs do not make up who you are as a person. So essentially, it's it's really not the way that's not the way it is. It's literally Jam is rolling her eyes right now, and it's
Jam all about the eyes.
So it's not which way you are voting, I should say. Which way you are voting does not make up your character. Is that better? Okay. All right, Nick, I want to start with you, and then if you got to go with your family, I'm so sorry. And then Aaron's got about 10 minutes, so we're gonna go Nick, Aaron, and then we're gonna wrap up the political discussion. And guess what? Leading up to election season, we're going to have a lot more of these, except for, while I still have 500 people watching, except for next week, we are doing a full political blackout. Hashtag nothing to argue. I don't know how I'm going to get Cash to not talk about politics, but for 1 week, only positive posts, Monday through Friday. Unite, don't fight. Political post blackout. We're going to be putting up all positive stuff for you to send out. So share that out later. I'll put that up later. Nick?
I'm going to just deactivate my Facebook during that week.
Probably a good idea. All right, Nick, go ahead. Go ahead and get us started and explain what you've gone through as a voter and what you're thinking of doing in this next election.
The only reason I'm sort of conflicted about who I want to vote for or who's the better candidate to vote for is really because it's the same reason I'm just sort of confused about this whole thing. There's no way that the U.S. has been in existence for 200 years and we only have 2 political parties. So for me, that's just asinine. Hold on, I hear the baby.
Oh.
Sometimes I have to get up.
You all right?
I feel you, brother. I feel
you. First and foremost, that you only have two political parties, more or less, 2 options to vote for. It's like you want Pepsi or you want Coke. Well, I don't drink pop. I don't drink pop at all. So I don't want either one particularly. So I'm literally forced to vote for who I think is going to be better for me and my family to thrive under for the next 4 years. Joe Biden. I watched the DNC and I didn't watch it in its entirety. I'm not one of those type of people. Not at all. I got other things to do. But I watched a decent amount of it, and then I read over recaps, and I sort of went over. He gave a nice, strong speech at the DNC, which he needed to because everybody was calling him senile and old, and these things. So he had to present himself in a very good light, and he did that. His vice president choice, Kamala, I don't know too much about her. I was reading a little bit more about her. I have to say I don't know that much about her, so I can read a little bit more about what she's got going on. But where the buck lies for me, it's going to fall under, and a lot of people, it's going to fall under the economy. And for me, I just bought a house this past year. I do work in the event industry, and right now with this COVID, a lot of things is on pause. So the money's not being made in my industry. I mean, I've adapted. You got to be able to adapt, and you got to be able to keep going. But I would like to get back into that, and the country needs to open back up, and we need things to start going in the right pattern. So in those regards, President Trump has not, I don't think, handled the whole COVID situation very, I don't think he handled that very well at all. And given where we are at right now, it's sort of hard for me to see where that side of the events and gatherings and things like that is going to come back. So I look at that. But under Joe Biden, I just look at where he wants to spend my hard-earned money at that I work for and I pay my taxes on. Where's my money going to get spent and what's it going to get spent on? And furthermore, if we in this and change, if it didn't happen with Obama, then what makes you think Joe Biden is all of a sudden gonna just be so I really don't know. I have no idea who I'm gonna vote for. As a black man in America, most people would say you gotta be crazy. You gotta vote Democrat. And I to that I say, I don't like President Trump because he has some racial undertones for sure. For sure, he said some real blatant sort of racist things and he's incited a lot of hateful speech and hateful behavior towards people of color in America. He brought back the good old boys. And I can't say this. I worked the DNC and the RNC in 2016. So I was at both of those. I was in Cleveland. I was in Philadelphia. I worked both of those. I saw the people that were around, and I got to see the rhetoric and I don't care what nobody says. Trump brings out the racists. I don't care what. I don't give a shit what.
What
you
did Trump say that was
I know from
racist?
what I
Yeah, I was gonna ask that
What did
question.
Trump say that was racist?
I do want to ask that question, to you, Nick. Can you quote one thing that was racist?
So I guess it would be his behavior. You don't have to say it when you act like that. You can have
Act
somebody
like
what?
just like the mob boss. I ain't gotta say go whack your man.
So-
That's
if
laughable.
the boss, I got a problem with you, it gets done. And if everybody got a problem,
but
I'm gonna look it up specifically what he says.
That's
so
messed
I
up that
can
you got to
have
look it
the,
up, but yet you feel
racial-
so strongly about him being a racist that you can't quote one thing
The
that
only
he said
reason I
that
have to
was
look it
racist.
up is because I want to be right. I don't like to be
Paraphrase.
misquoted.
Just paraphrase.
So that's why I want to look it up.
So all right. So
I will say this. He didn't say
But-
Trump was a racist. What he did say when he was at that rally, that he said he felt like
racial
Trump
undertone.
brought
No.
out the racist.
No,
And
he
so-
said that Trump has racial undertones. That's what he just said.
Well, yeah, but he didn't call him racist. And what I'm saying, what his main
Same
point
thing.
was, he said he felt like Trump brought racists out to the
That
rallies.
came out
I
later
would say.
after he just said that Trump is racist.
So I get it.
That's
So
after.
He didn't say those exact words, but yeah, I got you.
he said, but I get it. And Nick, what I think Nick is trying to
I
say.
mean, you can go with Herschel Walker. I mean, you could. I like Herschel Walker too. I like and respect Herschel Walker a lot. That's my guy. But,
I don't get it.
realistically,
Trump's racist, but Biden is not, because Biden's whole career and
When he
Kamala's
said
whole
something
career
like that, he
has
said-
been locking black people up.
Hold on, Cash. All right, I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna have Nick talk. I'm gonna have Cash.
I get that. I get that. But we're talking about I'm talking about Trump and what he's got going on. Biden, I know what I'm getting with Biden. That's why I said I don't want to vote for neither one of them. I particularly don't want to vote for neither one of them.
I'm just saying, like, that's a
So,
mistruth, though, because that man's done more for black people than any
I'm
president
for-
in history.
Okay, so here's the deal, Nick. I want to look, because I know Nick, you're working through trying to figure things out. You're trying to look to see who actually you feel has more racial history and all these different things. There's a lot of stuff for you to research. It does not make you wrong. That makes you still learning, just like most of the voters out there. I will tell you before we go to Cash, one of the things that always gets thrown at me when people say he's racist, and I say, prove one thing, and they talk about Charlottesville. Biden's speech literally talked about Charlottesville, even though it's a completely false statement where they say, why doesn't Trump ever actually denounce the KKK or neo-Nazis, especially after the big killing in 2017? He did 45 seconds later. He said, and this is all that's played, by including Joe Biden's speech, including Bernie Sanders' speech. So this is the best case of blatant racism that can be shown, is you see a clip talking about, well, after everybody died, after the people died in Charlottesville, he goes, well, there was good people on both sides. And people are assuming he's referring to the neo-Nazis and he's referring to the KKK. In fact, which was false. Is false. He was referring to the actual people that were standing by the statues of history that maybe their grandfather, maybe they're racist. We don't know. But ultimately they're saying don't tear down statues. And then he was talking about also the protesters on both sides, saying there was good people on both sides. Not less than 30 to 45 seconds later, he said, we're not talking about the neo-Nazis and the KKK. They need to be completely condemned. We are not talking about those are bad people. Never did anybody see that clip. So again, there's this, and I think in the racial undertones, that people just feel it because there's been this narrative push that he's a racist and that he's got undertone racism. So
and I just
plus
people don't do their homework and dig. Because if you dig, it's all you got to do is look at Trump's life. Look at his whole life as him being a millionaire, and look at everything that he's done for the black community specifically. Specifically, all the things that he's done his whole life, his entire life, that he's done to help black people. Nobody knows about that. Nobody hears about that. They only go off what they see in the media and what they've been told. If you look at Trump's life, he's gotten awards for helping out the black community. Why you think all the rappers used to love Trump? Everybody mentioning Trump. Trump used to be praised by everyone for the shit that he did for black community. And even as president, he's done a lot for the black community that we never hear about. And not just the black community, but the United States as a whole. That man has done a whole lot. And I really hate that he gets the criticisms that he gets that are based on bullshit clips that are taken out of context. If you watch the whole speech that he gives, he adamantly adamantly speaks out against any type of racism. Any type of racism. The dude speaks on behalf of America, and why people don't like him is because he's outspoken. He cannot be bought. He can't be controlled. He didn't get in this shit for the fame. He didn't get in none of this shit for any other reason other than to help America. And that's what he's been doing.
I'm gonna have, because I know you and Jim, because again, Nick is listening. He's waiting. He's learning. It is what it, and he wants to hear it. And I want to hear you and Jam talk. But Aaron's got to go, so I want Aaron to give quick thoughts before he heads out.
Do I vote for Trump and potentially end up getting a boat? That is a possibility. Do I vote for Biden and then get to take more naps? That is something that I would like to do in my life. Do I write in Michelle O because she sells out arenas with her book tour? That's pretty fascinating. Do I go with Bernie because he's just a grandpa that's just fun to watch? I don't know. I don't know who I would go with right now. I think the answer to this question in this given moment is like asking a woman her age. It's not something you do. But if I did have to give a decision in this moment, I would vote for Mel B from the Spice Girls so I could see her on Fox News all the time. That's my answer.
I like it. All right, Aaron, I'm sure you're going to watch this later. I'll catch you in a little bit. I want to go to Jam next, and then I want to have some replies. All right, Aaron, thank you very much. I will catch you on the flip side. Appreciate it. All right, Jam, I know you've been just chomping at the bit after hearing what Cash had to say. And again, I want to stress there's some people that got a little upset at Nick in the box. Nick is the worst, as I say, the worst thing you could do is yell at Nick for having an opinion right now. He's trying to learn. This is not the time to yell. This is the time.
I'm not yelling at you, Nick. I'm just passionate about what I'm saying.
I'm talking about the crowd. And yes, Cash, you need calm. I get it.
Mistruths, man. I don't like mistruths.
They bother me too.
I like the facts.
They bother me too. I get it. And honestly, Nick's trying to navigate right now. So I want to let Nick. Nick, do you want to say something real quick? I saw you unmuted.
So it's like as what you said, he's not racist. Was speaking with racial undertones is what to get to rally the troops so that you can get a vote. That's the same shit to me. So
what is it? What are the racial undertones?
Because I'm not gonna call certain individuals. I had to read it so I can make sure that I can address it in a proper way. It goes back to 1973. If you want to talk about as far as his things and policies of where people have have accounts that Donald Trump, their company's business practices have discriminated against minorities and things like that. So I mean,
do you realize every major business? Every major business in 1973 discriminated against black employees. It sucks. Then there was not equal hiring processes. Hold on, Jay.
Well, I will say they're not running for president.
They are,
so that's all.
So I'm at the back of the same thing. Who do I vote for then? I don't know.
Okay, so Biden's running for president. He literally put in policies to put black people to prison. I'm going to let Jam talk real quick. I got to let her go, and then I'm going to get back to Cash. All right.
Please let me go. Okay, so Mr. Cash, Kanye, Lee, West, Kelly. Listen, I'm sliding. No, I love me some Cash now. I'm slide up in the DM. Okay, but it's funny because I'm listening, and this is one of the issues that I have about discussing politics. Right, we are discussing politics right now. We're discussing a person, and when it comes down to, because right now, this is what the problem is with the country. This isn't about Republican Party, Democratic Party anymore. At least for some people, they're not seeing it that way, that a Republican Party has a certain amount of platforms that they really just stick to. And then the Liberal Party has their platforms that they stick to, which is why I'm a staunch, Democrat for that reason only. But don't get it twisted. I know that Anthony's like, she's a Biden supporter. Not really. I'm not like this huge fan, just like I'm not a huge fan of Bill Clinton. You know what I'm saying? And definitely not Hillary. But my thing about all of this is this. Trump's definitely said some stuff, called us the blacks and shit like that. I agree with you, Cash, in the sense that he's outspoken, and this whole idea, whoever said it, was just like, oh, when Anthony, you were just saying, oh, everybody was racist and did that and la la la. And someone goes, well, they're not fucking running for president, right? Like, they're not running for the leader of the world. And this is my only issue. This is why safety, security, unity came up in mind. And this is why even saying I'm going to vote for Biden doesn't matter, because what's happened in the last 4 years as a divide, whether we blame it on Trump specifically or just blame it on this candidacy period, right? The nepotism, all that shit, that's broken our country, right? We're all broken. We've never used to be on shows like this and fucking arguing back and forth about a Bush this and a Clinton that. That didn't used to happen. And it didn't used to happen. But it's happening now because there's so much divide in our country. I feel bad because we could go back and forth about all the things that Trump did. The unemployment rate is lower than it ever has been. Our economy is settled. I might feel unsafe, but we ain't at no war, right? I am concerned about Russia, of course, and that's because I know my history and I know about the Cold War and I know why we don't fuck with Russia, right? But most people don't. They don't even know. They just watch SNL and they laugh and they think that it's a problem that we are with Russia. So my whole perspective of politics, period, is that it's becoming more about the person. Anthony, you mentioned earlier, you said, well, just because a person votes Republican or votes for Trump isn't a real reflection of the person that they are. But it is now, currently, when it becomes voting for Trump or becomes voting for Biden, because in a short 4 years, the politics have changed to personality types versus fucking political beliefs. And I have more respect for a person who can sit here and talk to me and tell me why they vote for Trump based on a Republican platform basis. I have a friend who told his dad, he straight up was like, anybody who votes for Trump is a racist, right? White kid told his white dad that. And I agree to a certain extent, right? If you're voting for someone in country, you have to take all of their beliefs. So if you're upset about, you could be a person who votes for Trump and not really agree with the wall, but agree with his other economical stances, world policy stances, which is great. But unfortunately, that does come with supporting his fucking, wall, which is a big controversial topic. So my thing, period, about politics now is it's just, even voting for Biden isn't going to fix what the hell the country's in right now. It would have to take an Obama. It would have to take an FDR. It would have to take a Teddy Roosevelt. It would have to take someone like that. FDR's a Republican. It would have to take someone who is charismatic, who is a leader here to be the fucking change to fix what's going on. So unfortunately, to me, as much as I'm a Democrat, even in voting for Biden, I'm voting for Biden for the sense that maybe the country will shift just a little bit, but honestly, it might make it worse. I don't know. But the issue is now that this has become a personal problem. It's not a political problem. This is a personal problem.
Actually, I really like the way you said that, and I'm going to go to Cash next. And the fact that it has become a personal problem is, to me, just this drastically huge issue. And the funny thing is, you're naming off the way you kind of feel about Trump because of some of the stuff that's happened in the family, in the country. Yet when we talk about actual core policies, you're like, well, nothing is obvious besides the wall that's racist. And then you look at Democrats, and literally everything that's come out of Biden's mouth since well before that whole 1973 that we're talking about has actually been racist policies. That's to me, I think that's mind-boggling that we're choosing, the people that choose to think one side is racist is doing it based on, he gives me the racist feel. Well, Biden gives me the rapist.
I mean, he has said some stuff, like he refers to black people. He said multiple times he's called us the blacks and just shit like that, which is come on, you're educated. You're running my country. I'm going to go to Cash. Country, fix yourself. You know what I mean?
I'm going to Cash, but I'm going to tell you, my mom used to say that because that's what that age group, unfortunately, was like the blacks and the whites.
No, you want to be the change. This is not a part.
I get it. All right, Cash, go ahead. Cash, you're up.
Jam, I just want you to know, sister, I love you. I do. Okay? I just want you to know that before I get to going. I love you. Okay?
Here it comes.
Nah. First off, let me just tell you, I love how you can articulate your thought. You are very educated, and I can hear it. So that's why I still have faith in you, that you're going to look into these politics just a little bit more and end up not only not voting for Biden, but voting for Trump. Now, you saying that you're educated and you read and you know all these things, and I got to ask you, and don't answer me right now. You can answer when I'm done. Have you looked into the policies of this president? Have you looked into any of the things that they say that he hasn't done, that he has done? Have you looked at his whole career, his whole life, and all that he has done for the black community that he calls the blacks, which make you say that he's got some racist undertones or that he's racist for saying the blacks and not actually looking at the actions that he's taking for the blacks? Okay. Next, we're talking about him saying the blacks is making him racist, but then you have old Joe Biden over here who says that poor kids are what do you say? Poor kids can be just as smart as white kids.
Yeah.
And then also said that he don't want his kids going to a racial jungle. You know what I'm saying? About black kids being integrated with white kids in the school. The man who also said you ain't black if you don't vote for him. The man who also has signed countless bills, him and his VP, dedicated to locking black people up. They were dedicated to locking black people up and keeping black people incarcerated. All the while, Trump been supporting the black community. Trump been making jobs for the black community. You go back to what Curtis said about, or agree with 1973 or whenever the hell it was, or fan, whoever said it, about him saying something or not having equal rights for. Did you know that every single person that is a executive in his businesses or any type of paid platform where they're in a higher position, did you know that they make the same wage? Whether you're a woman, whether you're a man, whether you're black, whether you're white, he pays them all the same wage. That man has shown way more that he is not racist than what people try to say that makes him racist. Okay? Not only that, he's given opportunity zones for all over America for people to start up businesses, reap the benefits of those businesses, and also create more jobs for people to work for them businesses. He did prison reform, which directly affected me and directly affected people in my family because they were nonviolent offenders and they had some drug charges. They get to come home because of what Trump did with the prison system. Not only that, excuse me, I'm sorry, getting long-winded.
Let me let Jam get in real quick. And then
all I want to say is this before my words get misconstrued. I started this conversation and said, I didn't like neither of these ninjas. It's Nick that said that he wasn't voting for Trump on a racist spiel.
Yeah, I've corrected that.
Because I was just saying that I'm not going to negate the fact that he did say some racist stuff. That's not why I'm not voting for Trump, though. So
my sister, what I was getting at, my sister, is that was your opinion. That wasn't, you had to think about that to make it racist. See, me, myself, I didn't find that to be racist, and I'm a hood nigga. I'm from the hood. I'm in the hood right now.
Right.
You feel me?
But it's still not why I'm not voting for Trump. I didn't take it as racist. But I'm not voting for Trump ideally because of that. I mean, like I said, I don't even really want to vote for Biden. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not it. What sucks is the position that we're in as a country. Like, the DNC for the second election year in a row, or second, election term in a row, is fucked up on who they pick for presidency. Like, we're not even getting good candidates to represent what the Democratic Party or the Republican Party represent. And that's really the issue. It's not about necessarily that I hate Trump and that I don't feel like some of the things he's brought to this country has brought value. He's done a great job. It's just that it's just a lot of
like
stuff.
You said from the beginning, it's a personal thing. Like you said in the beginning of what you said, that you're not voting for the best person for the job, you're voting for something personal. And that's why you won't vote for Trump, is because you have a personal opinion about him.
It's not his personal opinion.
Hear me out, my sister. I was letting you talk now. Come on. Hear me out.
Listen. No, let me correct myself, because what I really mean is, because I discussed the portion when I was talking about how I feel like the country has gotten this like divide since he's been the candidacy, and that's the major reason why I don't like.
But that's not because of Trump. That's because of the media. Do you know why they go?
Change in 4 years.
Sister, do you know why? Do you know why people go at Trump so hard on the media? Do you know why even the Republicans and the Democrats go at Trump?
Why?
Because he goes against both of them. He's went against both of them, and he stood up for Americans. They talk about the wall and say, oh, he's putting up a wall. He's racist towards Mexicans. And they use a clip where he was talking about MS-13 and then applied that to all Mexican people to make it seem like Trump was racist. But really, he's putting up a wall, first off, to help save some jobs. for people that are here legally, and then also to help with sex trafficking of minors and women. That wall going up is going to stop a lot of people from being trafficked from over that country that are undocumented.
So Cash, this goes back to Kenosha, right? The bigger problem with the country is this miseducation and misinformed and the big ideas here. The problem is I'm not saying that I disagree specifically with specific things. I'm saying that in this 4 years, what has happened to this country as far as how divided we've become
should not be blamed on Trump.
No matter what his policies are back and forth, we are divided as a country. And my value, like Carolyn had brought up, is unity. So I don't, like I said, with Joe Biden too, I don't feel like Biden can unite the freaking country.
Jam, I love you.
Hold on. I'm muting everybody real quick because I want to actually bring really quick. I have to say this because Jam just said this, that we're essentially saying that the policies or the way that the sentiment that he's put in place. I've got a fun idea for you. The criminal reform bill created by Joe Biden in 1994 that as of last year he still stands by is part of the reason that we are in this state that has started to boil over. So if you really want to blame it, you can go back 25, 26 years to something that is a specific bill that's created by the competition. I love that you guys are all talking on mute right now. That's actually created by the competition. So to Jam's exact point, you're right. If you want to blame something on something, the Kenosha can be traced directly back to Joe Biden's proud moment of a crime bill. All right, and then I'm gonna have Carolyn come on after this. Jam, go back. You and Cash go.
And Anthony, you're.
I just want to finish my thought because I keep getting cut, and I was making some valid points here. So
Cash. Go ahead, Cash.
No,
Cash, go ahead. Cash, go ahead.
Okay, this is what I'm trying to say though, man. The president is getting blamed for dividing a country that was already becoming divided under the Obama administration. Okay, first off, they were already becoming divided under the Obama administration. Then when Trump came in, they already hated the fact that he was even running for president. When he beat Hillary, the left and the left media and the right media created a divide. And they started painting this narrative of this president as if he's just this horrible, money-hungry, racist, misogynist dictator who's going to ruin the country. When in fact, every single thing that he has done has benefited America. He raised us up so far for unemployment for all people, not just black people. Unemployment at an all-time low. More jobs were created than ever before. He brought steel manufacturing back to America and stopped us from being an importer to being an exporter. He put the tariffs on China. The dude did the prison reform. So what? He got a fucked up Twitter. So what? He speaks like a dick sometimes because he don't got to shelter his words because he don't give a fuck what nobody got to say about what he says because the man got the money to say fuck you and stand on that because he takes his check that he gets from being the president and donates it. He doesn't even take a paycheck for his job. He's the only president in history whose net worth went down while he's been in office. So why the fuck would he want to be the president of the United States? If this man came in and is taking losses, why the fuck would he want to be the president? Maybe because he actually gives a fuck about America and wants to help. Boom, baby, mic drop.
Wait, pick the damn mic back up. I got the mic. Mic's right here. So all I want to say about that is I don't disagree with you. So regardless of whether the DNC and the media and whoever painted this picture on Trump, the fact still is that our country is divided. And my point being is that regardless of whether or not it's not sincerely Trump's fault regardless, but people fucking think it is, and people are still acting accordingly. I have white friends I can't even talk to anymore because of the Trump administration. And maybe we don't call it the Trump administration. Maybe we call it the media's roll-up, but maybe we call it the media's roll-up to destroy the country and destroy us from Trump, right? And maybe we call it that. However, that's why this race, like I almost got to be like, all right, thank you, Trump. Thank you. Next. But then it's like, fuck Biden. Like, nah, nigga. Like, excuse me. No, we cannot.
Keep your mind, girl.
Not do Biden. You know what I mean? So I don't disagree with you, Cash. The issue still stands is we can sit here and talk about all the great things he does, but we've already got this picture of him. We know we've been here for 4 years. We know how we feel. And now we kind of got to like clean the slate and start over with both damn parties, as far as I'm concerned, in order to reunite the country back. Because
But why, if the country is benefiting? See, this is the problem. This is the problem. We're not attacking the issue. The issue is not that Trump is president. The issue is how the media is portraying Trump as president.
How are we
and
gonna
giving
change that?
mistruth. Defund the fucking media. Stop watching the media and everybody look at the facts and stop pushing
Then let's do
the shit
it.
that they tell us.
Then let's do it.
I'm with it.
Share,
Girl, let's
share
do
this
it then.
page
I'm
more.
with it.
Share this page more.
Let's do it then.
I'm
Share
not
this
voting.
page more.
Listen, I'm not voting for Trump, but I'm with defunding the fucking media. 'Cause
By the
Jenny
time I'm
Jones
done,
had a
because
whole
you don't
dude
even
kill
realize
somebody
you
over
sound
here.
like a Trump supporter. That's what you don't realize.
She does.
But your
I'm
belief-
not.
does.
No.
You're
She
not.
literally
you're a
sound
Trump
like
supporter.
you are so afraid.
No,
You're
don't
so
let them call
afraid.
me that. Don't let them call me
You reek of Trump voter. I gotta let Carolyn talk. Carolyn's
Hey,
been
get my
patiently
number,
waiting.
damn man. You need to stop it up one-on-one.
Carolyn, you're up.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to talk to Jim. I want to talk with you, Jim. Because the original thing was you want to feel safe, right? So I'm really curious because I love Trump
I don't
because
feel
he
safe
makes me
because
feel
the lack
safe.
of unity in the country.
I
I
feel
think
secure.
that I don't remember if it was Aaron or Curtis had brought up the racial divide that seems to just have come up. Like these white people or whatever were always racist. I think that the safety comes in that for some reason now I don't feel as safe being Black because of the people who've come out the closet all of a sudden.
Okay. But I don't feel safe being white right now.
Why is that?
I don't. And when I go out, just because of the tension in the air, like I never ever, like I don't care. I talk to anybody, like anybody. Ask me. I be in Market Basket, and if anybody, colors, shapes, sizes, age, start telling me their life stories, I end up hugging people by the fucking fruit. It's just what happens to me, right? So that to me, but now because of all this, I said what I'm thinking of. I'm not afraid because I see Black people, or I'm afraid because they're thinking something
and I'm
of
gonna go
me
back
that
to
I'm
Cash,
not.
right? So we can't blame Trump anymore because Cash said so.
But I want to, right? But I want to stick with you on the
go
safety
back.
thing.
I'm
I want to
sorry.
stick with you on the safety thing because it's really important, right? So I want you to feel before COVID broke out. Cash, you're out.
She's gonna out the star of the show.
Yeah, I have to. I've been waiting.
Well,
Listen,
Cash, you got 30 seconds. 30 seconds, Cash, and then Carolyn's talking.
Okay,
go ahead.
I gotta leave. I gotta get off here. That's what I was trying to tell you guys.
Yeah, I gotta go too.
Beyond that, I just want you to know something real quick, Jam. I love you to death, girl. And real talk, me and you should one-on-one. I would love to talk to you, and we could come up with some common ground, like you say. You feel different when you hear me, and I ain't got no reason to lie to you. I'm gonna give you the facts. So I think me and you should chop it up, maybe do a one-on-one, and see where it go. Maybe you can come on some of our parts with me and be part of that panel because you have a different perspective. All right,
love it.
All right, my number for Anthony. I love you guys.
Cash, I love you. Yeah, no. Carolyn, Jam, stay right here. We're almost done. We're gonna have you guys finish it up. Yeah, Cash.
We're walking long because I'm going to watch the RNC. So, anyways, Jim, listen to me. So, about the feeling safety thing. Before COVID hit, I remember so very clearly thinking, "Wow, right? There has been like no ISIS around. There's been no domestic. The terrorism has stopped, right? There's been no outbreaks of racism, like any kind of breaks. You haven't heard anything about ISIS or racism, and it just hit me like one day, like a big aha, right? I was like, wow, this is like amazing. Like unity is happening, and then friggin' COVID came in, and I still felt unity because we were all struggling with the same virus across the entire planet. Nobody was exempt. It didn't pick any race. It affected all of us. So again, I even made a card. Like I even created a card for this One Love Unity. And I was like, God, this feels so, because we're all still on the same plane, right? And then that freaking George Floyd incident happened and things just went wild, right? And they've been wild since. But there's many different parts of that. But that's not what we're going to talk about because I don't have time for that. But what I want to talk about is feeling safe, right? So when I look at Biden, I see a very weak man.
I do too.
I see a man that not only that is going to get stepped on by people with him.
I do.
Right? Other countries are loving for him to come in. Other countries, like Trump or not, he is respected by other countries. He is an amazing deal maker, and they are afraid of him. They know he's not going to put up with any bullshit. So he calls their bluff. They don't act like they would with somebody else in office.
But Carolyn, I'm still not saying safety as in world safety, as in war.
But it all has to start. What I'm saying is he is a man of safety. He would be in there helping all of these communities. They won't let him.
Again,
won't
we're
let 'em
still
in.
referring as if I'm talking specifically about Trump as
But
a
it-
person.
it
I'm
has to
talking about
start
as the
somewhere.
presidency, what this entire 4 years has done as far as everyone's uproar, of which Cash was mentioning that
Mhm.
this is probably definitely the Democrats, the DNC, the
It
media's
definitely
fault,
is.
which
It
is
definitely is.
true. So
Definitely.
with that being said, it's like
But
amidst
that's
all the
going to
great
go
things that
away.
yeah, but it's not going to go away in his next 4 years of presidency. If
I bet it
anything, it
does.
might
I
get
bet it
worse.
does.
I don't
think
think
it
it
will.
will.
I think it will. I would bet money on you're wrong. I will bet money on you're
We're
wrong.
gonna have to. He's gonna win, so we're gonna have to definitely bet money.
Yeah, we're
So
gonna
Oh,
have
I like the faith.
We're
I
gonna
like
have
the
let me
faith.
know. I mean, I'm being a logical ass person.
We're
I'm
gonna
not
have to
voting
talk
for him.
again.
I know he's
Carolyn,
gonna
you're
win.
right.
And I'm still not going to feel like, and I disagree with you with as far as I agree and disagree. The unity part with the COVID thing, agree. As soon as that happened, we were all just like,
Yeah, we're all the same.
you're
It's like
messed
every
up,
tragedy
right?
happens,
But
right? It's real tragedy.
prior to that, I experienced a lot more racism in those last 4 years than I ever had, especially when conversing with my friends and whatnot. And it just made me uncomfortable and unsafe because I always thought that I was in a safe space. The reality is these people were already always like that. They didn't feel like they had a voice to voice that. And because Trump, and this is a good thing and a bad thing, but it's more of a good thing that Trump is outspoken, so people feel like they can say what they need to say, of which people should feel that way. But in that sense, it still made us feel back to, was it Curtis that said? No, it was Nate that said, we've come pretty far. We haven't come far enough. Well, he didn't say that. That's my words. That we haven't come
I
far
do
enough.
believe that can heal. I do believe that can heal. I do believe we can move forward. And I can't speak. I'm not a Black woman. I get it. I am not in your shoes, just like the police officer. I can't speak for that. I don't experience that. You know what I mean? But what I do know is that I love people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I want to see everybody. I'm like, you want to prosper. I want to prosper. You want to be successful. I want to be successful. You want to come in my house and feel comfortable. I want to go in your house and feel comfortable. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, and I truly believe in my heart of hearts we can get there. I do not believe it will happen under Joe Biden's presidency.
And I don't believe it'll happen after Trump, honestly. And it's not that it'll happen under Biden. I just don't think.
But we've had that Democrat. We've had Democratic. Trump's only been in for 3.5 years. These Democrats have been in office for 47, 50 years. Nothing has changed. Nothing. Maybe baby steps. I don't know.
It's like every other year. That's not true.
Biden's been in office for.
True. It is
Biden's been in office for 47 years. Kamala's been in 30.
Senatorship.
What about Kamala? What about Mitch McConnell?
What I'm saying
I'm not a fan of. Well, I'm not. We're talking presidency right now.
Longevity, it's on both sides.
But I'm saying we've
Both
had
sides have been there forever.
Well, wait. Mitch McConnell's not running for president. Continue, Karen.
What I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. When I voted for Trump originally, it was like this country needed a change. It needed a change. And I didn't want to vote for him. I did not want to vote for the man. I did not want to vote for him, but I wasn't voting for Hillary Clinton, and I wasn't wasting my vote. And I already told Anthony the story about how my father loved Trump, and he had passed away in August, and I voted for my dad. All right. So I had no intention of voting for Trump. So now you're not talking to somebody who loved him. I'm an independent, and I have voted for Obama twice. I voted for every Democrat. I've been a Democrat my whole life.
Same.
Up until Trump.
That's crazy. But I will tell you guys that initially the idea of voting for Trump had nothing to do with anything that we're talking about, which is very interesting. I wasn't not voting for Trump because I thought he was a racist or he was going to build this wall or any of those things. It was really a platform issue. And I was like, I don't really like this character. He's kind of an asshole, right? And that was really it. And I think
the bottom line. I think the bottom line is, right? How do I see my life with Biden in office? What does that look like for me? And what does my life look like with Trump in office, right? What does it look like? You look at his policies, you look at what he's done, you look at how people speak about him, you look about, and I don't mean one-sided leftism speaking about him. I mean, go both sides of the fence, because there are people who spoke that RNC convention, I mean, Herschel Walker, Mr. Alvarez, Jim Jordan. I mean, there was a lot of really authentic, heartfelt speakers there that really spoke from their heart. It wasn't a show. They spoke. They were in tears. And it was really, really moving to watch, because in the end of the day, Trump's getting my vote because he's a patriot. He loves America. I love America. I don't ever want to see America even take the chance of going socialist. I won't even give my vote a chance for that to happen, because I want to be able to design my own destiny. And if I'm going to be limited for what I can earn or who I can be, it'll be self-imposed, not government imposed.
Hey, really quick, because we're about to wrap up. Curtis has got to go. He's going to give us 15-second goodbye, and then we'll all wrap up. Jam, Carolyn, if you guys want a last word, just wait for Curtis real quick. We'll give you guys the last word, and then we'll head out.
Yeah, sorry, I got to go. I'm actually running a meeting for the Gratitude Tour as we're planning for the next hospital next week. So thank you all for being on the show. Love to have you, Jam. Carolyn, awesome as usual. Anthony, I will see you later this week. I'm going to post this link here. If you want to donate, it's going to go 100% to the charity, which is going to go 100% to the doctors and nurses and people that work in the ER in Miami. Again, we're looking to go other places, but we got to start somewhere, and probably being a change. But I got to run that meeting, and I am.
Curtis, you got to call me later. We got really quick work to do later too. Curtis, give me a call. I'll be around.
Yes, of course. All right, love y'all. Hey, Curtis. Change. Be a regular hero.
Hi, Curtis. Nice meeting you.
See y'all
later.
Just a quick wrap up because I'm really done. I want to go eat seafood. But
I got you.
I just wanted to say that it's interesting to have met Cash because you had me all nervous, like I was gonna be all like I'm ready to fight. But it's interesting because what Cash is for like he's right wing, but he's not necessarily right wing, but he's for the real facts. And I feel like I am on the same page as him, but sometimes we just have different ideals and whatnot. But the thing about the Trump thing that you were saying earlier, once again, and let me just reiterate it to everyone who's listening, that it's not a matter of like, it's just a matter of in the last 4 years, I'm just stepping out the box and I'm looking at how the country has reversed itself as far as us as a people and how his presidency has somehow, whether it was through the media, whether it was the DNC's fault, it doesn't matter. These 4 years have changed significantly for me, and it makes me feel unsafe, not in a warlike perspective. As a matter of fact, I feel dumb safe with that. I feel like, I don't feel no sense of nuclear bombs or any of that things like that sort of fear. I do not have that fear. I just want our country to be back unified. And I don't think that Biden can do it. I agree, Carolyn. That's one of his biggest flaws is that he's weak and he's old and, he's not Obama. He's trying to ride on the coattails of Obama. We need an Obama type who's Republican or Democrat. Doesn't even matter. We need an Obama type of personality, whether, like I said, right wing, left wing, to come.
A presence. Huh? A present. You're talking about a presence.
A presence, absolutely.
Can I ask you one question, Jam?
Yes.
What year did Trayvon Martin get killed?
So what am I? 30?
It was 2013. What year did Michael Brown get killed?
Michael Brown,
which is really the beginning of the big starting of the riots and the how black.
I only know as early as Trayvon Martin. I think that was the first case where I started listening.
So Michael Brown was 2015, I believe. I know it was before Trump. So I think that we have this watered down thought that everything was peachy up until 2016. And I think that have things escalated? Absolutely. But that's how things go. Momentum builds. And to say that from 2013 or 2012 to 2016, we weren't in turmoil is forgetting where things were. I think I think we have this blind. We all of a sudden think, well, we had a black president, we had Obama, it was all good then. It got bad with Trump. It was bad before that. I wrote, when I see my time hop pop up and the things that I wrote on Facebook about how our country needs to come together, that shit was in 2013.
But you know what? And it was in 1965. It was in 1865. It was in 1700, right?
Yeah.
Oh, 1775. So what I'm saying though is, as a 30-year-old now, right? You were saying that Trayvon Martin happened in 2013. I was 23 years old. I just came out of college, right? I didn't give a shit because at that point, I'm on a different level of where politics matter to me. So as I'm coming into adult, as I see how the world works, I'm feeling how I'm feeling based on the situation. Right. So maybe if I were 30 in 2013, I would hope.
But that's not Trump's fault. That's not Trump's fault that you didn't give a shit. But I know, but we're placing it. You're placing your safety, and I get that you're placing your safety in yourself. You're placing your safety in yourself based on how you feel kind of about Trump and where it goes with Biden. And ultimately, you're looking at it and you're saying that in 2013, I didn't give a shit. I do now. If you gave a shit then, you might have felt very differently about Obama.
And I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not, and please stop saying that I'm placing the blame on Trump. I'm placing the blame on the 4 years of this administration, how I feel, and I agree with you. Maybe at 2013, if I were this same age and this level of intelligence and tact and tenacity of being in that position in the world, it would feel the same to me, but it doesn't right now.
Yeah. All right. I know you got to go. I love the way you think. Carolyn's going to go and do her rap. Jam, you are coming on again. Please don't look at all the comments, because there are some people that don't like you. It's okay. And that's just part of life.
People don't like Trump.
Exactly. I think you were phenomenal, Jam. I love the conversation that you had with all of us. I appreciate you, and we will see you sometime soon. And we do need to talk about schooling, so that's going to come up as well.
Thanks, guys. I'm sorry you didn't like me. I still love all of America and all of you, though. I got to hear my mouth. All right, bye, guys. Thank you, Anthony. Nice meeting you, Carolyn.
Later.
You too, Jim.
All right, Carolyn. What do you think?
I really have nothing else to say right now.
Okay.
Yep, I'm not good. The RNC is on.
Yeah, I know. You got to go watch. I got you. Go to watch that. Carolyn, thank you so much.
I know what's going on in the world.
Yeah, there you go. You gotta know these things. Thank you so much, Carolyn. I'll pull you off. Thank you. And I'm going to wrap up the show. Tell everybody what's going on the way out. Thank you, Carolyn. All right. So again, ladies and gentlemen that are on right now, Changemakers is going to be on Wednesday, Wednesday next week. Our first guest is Daryl Davis. Help get people out of the KKK. That'll be awesome. We'll start posting about that. That'll be the first episode of that. Those are people that are causing change in the world around them next. And part of next week and part of Changemakers being a part of that is nothing to argue. I'm going to be begging Cash to not post about social media or post about politics for a week. We're going to see how that goes. We're going to create full positivity. Please share this with people. Start sharing people to come to our page, because we will have constant positive information to share with people then. So again, that's hashtag nothing to argue. Week with no social media division, no one-sided political post, blackout, unite, don't fight. Now, this is not the end. This is actually the very beginning of our political discussions. We'll take next week off, and then leading up to the presidency, I think it's important that we show conversations like this, because you're not going to see that very often. You're going to see people fighting. You're going to see people getting upset. You're going to see people that don't understand that people are allowed to have a different perspective, and people are allowed to be upset about different things. And although things got a little heated today, that was part of the conversation. Yes, Jackie Miller, Daryl Davis will be on the show. Thanks, Elizabeth. Good luck with the no politics next week. We're going to give it a shot. Let's hope something like this week doesn't happen. So ultimately, thank you guys for joining us. Again, watching the conversation is what's key. Please share this out. Please let people know. More stuff coming up on the Streetlights clothing stuff on Be The Change. That'll be out tomorrow. So we'll have Cash do a post about that. We got mugs now. We got other t-shirts, which is fantastic. And then to wrap up with what I started with, which is what's going on in the country, what's going on with Kenosha, and what's going on in terms of how we've shifted the mindset. And the biggest takeaway I have from this episode is there was a comment made where we have to stop thinking that criminals should be allowed to live. Of course, criminals should be allowed to live. I think that's the perspective that we see when people look at what happened in Kenosha and say, well, he kind of put himself in that position. Doesn't mean he deserved to die, but it does mean he put himself at risk of dying. There's a huge difference. We have to stop celebrating criminals. That's all I really want to say. And when I say we're celebrating criminals, we celebrate the criminal, and then we all, on top of it, we celebrate the criminal that doesn't comply, which in other countries just won't even make you past tomorrow, plain and simple. And I'm going to show a video actually on the page later, which is hard. I might show it on my personal page because it's a lot. It's the cop getting hit with the brick in the head and a group of rioters jumping around him and celebrating and saying, F that cop, F the police. And the guy's completely unconscious. And if anybody knows about getting hit with a blunt object, you can die that way. And there's people shot last night in Kenosha and businesses burnt down. I don't see the sense in it. And especially if you watch the charade that was the lawyer speaking about this gentleman, you would think that he was the greatest man to ever walk the face of the earth and did nothing wrong in the moment that the cop shot him. Cop may have shot too many times. I'm not going to disagree there. But you put yourself in bad positions. And if I teach my children anything, it's to not put yourself in those positions. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you guys for hanging out with us here at Truth Will Set You Free. We'll be back again next Tuesday with the positivity episode. We're going to talk more positive next week and then get back to politics right after that. Thank you all for joining us.